Hey, how's it going, everyone? Uh, let's see here if I can find out who's in here just by looking at YouTube. But all right, we got This Truck and Life in here. We got TBT, USA's in the house. Um, I don't know why YouTube ain't pulling up. Should be playing right now. There you go. Just had to reload. Should be playing right now. Let's see. We have Jerome Jones in the house. What's up, Jerome? Hey, what's up, This Truck and Life? So obviously I'm bored. I'm sitting in the hotel room. Hopefully the audio is coming in good. And I got this fancy Bluetooth microphone here. Um, so I guess what I'm trying to accomplish in this video is maybe persuading some people not to um, how can I say it? Like not to get hustled, not to particularly just jump on into the trucking industry thinking they're going to make $1 million every 5 minutes because uh, I don't know. Since I've been bored today, I've just been watching videos, and it still sounds like people are trying to get as many guys in here and sell trucks and sell coaching plans and lease purchases and all kinds of stuff. So let me see here. All right, there you go. Thanks, This Trucking Life. Yeah, hopefully it's pretty good. Paid a whole whopping $50 for this setup. But I was just trying to reach out to guys, maybe before they, especially this year. If you're watching this, it's fairly new. This is 2023. Um, the market isn't exactly the way some of these videos are. Like, there's a lot of people on YouTube that are just going through videos and stuff, and just not even looking at the dates they were posted, and think they're still. I had a what was it? Where was I at? Oh, when I got an Uber from the dealership from my hotel to the dealership, the Uber driver was trying to get his CDL, and pretty much, uh, as far as he thought truck drivers were still making, you know, what was he? Well, like he wanted to become an owner operator. He thought owner operators were still making like $10,000 to $12,000 a month. I mean, not a month, a week. That's probably what they're making now a month, but uh, I told him, I said, this year is not a good year to go jumping on in and to becoming a company driver or an owner operator. Um, let's see, let's try to read some of this. Hey, okay, Denova. Hey, just dropped in to say hi, but I feel you. They're uh, restless truckers on YouTube. Oh, yeah, restless truckers on YouTube. Keep telling the truth. See, Drone Jones, quick question. How long does it take to withdraw funds from your Data card? Um, well, Drone, it depends. Are you talking about if you get paid on your Data card? Um, you can transfer that right over to your, if you have your bank account information on your Data card, you can transfer that right over to your bank account. Um, Depending, if it's your first time, it might take, let's say you get paid Friday. You might have the money in there Saturday morning. Um, Depends, I guess, on the bank and stuff. It might be not be there until Monday. It just depends when the funds were put in. If you had the funds put in there like Friday at midnight, the funds came in to your Data and you got on it right away, you could probably by Saturday have your funds in your bank account if you transferred them over. But you would have to get on it like right away in the morning. Um, let's see, TBT. So shouldn't go lease purchase. Damn, I was going to take the plunge. Uh, yeah, lot of other people are. I'll tell you that, TBT. We're reading like the one I'm trying to cover up names. If you look at the thumbnail I put in there, I didn't, well, we all know who, like, who that was on there and what dealership they were. I mean, I have no problem with that dealership per se, but to go out there and just blatantly throw guys under the bus, I think is a little understatement. But then again, hey, business is business. They have a business to run too. Um, so it is what it is. Let's see. Datanova. It's all sunshines and rainbows out here. Not everyone will buy a truck and make bank. You can have a fleet and be in the negative for a month. Well, yeah, there's mega carriers that are in the negative, running off credit and cash flow for a month or whatnot, depending on what they're doing. But what I wanted to say is that it's just it's getting a little ridiculous, and somebody has to be buying this stuff. Like, I mean, not like buying it, but mentally buying it, and then I guess eventually buying it. Like, there's so many videos out there. Buy my plan. Do this. Do that. I do understand to a point that you should charge somebody for the knowledge you have, but like some of the videos I'm watching are just, it would be like me right now telling you all to like cash at me $25 for this blatant knowledge that the spot market is horrible, and you might not make it. It's like obvious stuff. It's stuff that you should know before you even make the plunge. Like, it's stuff that people should be putting out here for free and preparing. Like I said, a lot of people end up feeding into, most people when they do this, of course they want to make money. They could want to improve their lives or something. And these YouTube channels, they'll feed into it. They'll show the flashy cars. They'll show all this. And what it does, whoever's watching it or whatever, they end up building like a mental block, and that's the videos they start searching for. That's what they want to believe. It's almost like making a false reality in your head. So I can see there's comments coming up here. I want to try to catch up. Let's see. TBT, hard to type in here, but people should realize corporate business is different than private solo business. That's absolutely true. I don't know. What are you in YouTube? I guess TBT, or are you actually on StreamYard? Huh. To be honest, I probably should have pulled StreamYard up. It looks like it's a lot easier to read, at least on a phone. But yeah, so like even what I've done, I've had a hard road. The new truck, like, so anybody that sees this, that new truck out there is not necessarily a blessing. Everyone's like, oh, you got a new truck, it's great and everything. Eventually that's going to wear off, and depending on what happens, breakdowns, you buy a tire, it's got low rolling resistance, expensive tires on it. Eventually the party's, it's like it's gonna end. Like John McClane says, "Welcome to the party." Yeah, and a lot of guys don't prepare themselves for that. They just assume, like I'll say, I just assumed that when I get in a truck and I start driving and become an owner operator and stuff, just that I would at least not have any breakdowns for, I don't know, at least half a year, at least. Maybe a tire blowout or something like that. But like what was it, like a month, maybe a little over a month after I had the truck, the power divider exploded. There is no way for me to tell unless I pulled the pumpkin off. Somebody was in there already, and that was that was like a $6,500, $7,000 fix, and I paid that. I paid that out of the savings account I had for the truck. If I didn't have that, I wouldn't have had it. And, it just started adding up and kept going. And luckily, where I was at, I was making good money at the time. I started in what, August of 2020, 2021 there, and everything was good. It was, but by April of 2022, things have changed. And if I would have started earlier, I would have probably made it with that old truck. I would have been paying a lot of money. I would have saw the money go out to the truck, but I would have ended up rebuilding the truck over a year period, is what would have happened. And like I said, a lot of guys will get out here, they'll just assume that they'll get 6 months straight with nothing happening, and that's not necessarily the case. Now, if I would have bought the truck off an owner operator, maybe they would have already done this stuff, had these repairs done, had the problems happen on your own. That's usually what happens. If you buy a truck off an owner operator, took care of the truck, when they say they take care of it, that it goes a lot farther than just servicing it. All the problems it broke, the breakdowns, mechanical issues that come up, they've already taken care of those problems. That's why you buy an owner operator truck off of a professional owner operator, not a hustling YouTube owner operator. I'm trying not to ignore your comments, but let's see here. Who said something here? Oh, there he goes. Dakanova. Eventually, I'm going to pronounce that right. Do you miss the International, or you prefer the KW? KW gang, hashtag Kenworth gang. You got PACCAR in your new truck. The mileage you said is amazing. I will tell you, I've never, like I said, you can't count on the digital layout or whatnot, but I would imagine these newer trucks, considering that the ECM is like made it to the engine, I would imagine these digital layouts are pretty accurate. They measure the amount of fuel pressure, the amount of fuel that enters the engine, and everything, and all this is needed to get the most mileage out of the truck and pollute the least. So when you're going down, when I left Dallas, there were points that I actually got up to about 14 and a half bobtailing. I've never any truck I ever had bobtailing that had a digital dash. I think the best I've ever seen is like 12, maybe. That's the best I've ever seen bobtailing out of a truck. At least giving off the digital dash. That thing was practically getting, at least where I live, where my pickup truck was. It was getting pickup truck mileage, bobtailing. Oh, what's up? What's up, DIY Semi? Royalties in the house. Nothing much. Just, I don't know. Hopefully, trying to make sure that guys don't ruin their lives and get caught up in all this hustling that's been good. Like I said, I was sitting here today just watching YouTube, and the hustling is ridiculous. Oh geez, my little girl's puking. Well, she did have a bucket up there. I don't know what's going on. To bucket. Yeah, that's one thing too. Now my wife has to deal with a little girl puking without me, without yelling at me to deal with it, I guess. Oh, the fun is having children. Oh, let's see here. Oh, we got John Cofford in the house. Hey, what's up, John? DIY Semi. That's a nice sleeper behind you in that KW. Oh yeah. No, I got a hotel room. The carrier put me up in a hotel room. I'm surprised they did, because there's really no reason for me to. They just did it out of the hell of it, I guess. Yeah, I guess apparently they thought the brand new sleeper in the Kenworth wasn't good enough for me, so they got me well, I don't know what the heck's I guess it's like at least a 3 or 4 star hotel. I don't know what these are. But you know, they just put me in this for the heck of it, I guess, to maybe get a tax write-off. I don't know, but you know, I'm very grateful for it. You know, tomorrow, let's see, I don't really have anything to do tomorrow. I don't have a load necessarily yet. I'm still waiting on my, sorry about that. I'm still waiting on my, what do they call it? My Texas temporary plate um, for the truck, because they just got the 2290 in today. Apparently 2290s were being sat on by the IRS. Um, you know, I guess they took an extended vacation on that, which I don't know if that's for everybody, but at least that's what was happening with me for the truck to get the 2290 through. Uh, but yeah, uh, could be worse. I'm not exactly going to do a hotel review, uh, but I guess I am doing a hotel review like everyone else. Let's see here. Pull up here. But like what I was saying about, you know, sure, you know, I got a new truck and everything, and it's flashy, but I just I don't want people to get the, you know, the bad, not the bad, the facade of that. You know, I'm doing great. I'm not really doing great. I was just lucky enough and got the new truck. Um, but times are still tough out there. You know, the guys that are getting hustled, they end up putting glasses on, I guess you want to say, and they don't realize what they're getting themselves into. Um, the trucking industry has always been kind of shady like that. You know, rip people off constantly, uh, lie right straight to their faces, and I want to bring like a truth to it more. I don't want people getting the wrong idea that I'm trying to put out there that everybody can get a brand new truck. You know, I've had a lot of people call me, a lot of people email me, and yeah, rose colored lenses. You know, I've had a lot of people call me and email me. Um, you know, that they're going to go and get, you know, try to do the same deal I had and everything. And the people that have done it, you know, I feel are ready for it. They're professionals. They've already been out here. They know what they're getting themselves into. They know how easily it can just blow up in their faces. And there's a lot of people that were new. I know when I first came in, you know, back in what, 2013, and you know, started hearing about owner operators and stuff, and you know, oh, they're making, you know, $6,000, $8,000 a week and stuff, and I was like, whoa, you know, time to jump on the owner operator bracket. Uh, but you know, that's just all gross. That's just all hearsay, and some of these videos, they never really show proof. Anybody can doctor anything up. I'm not just saying settlements. I'm saying uh, like unless they're able to like get their true bank statement and show it to you, it's not, you know, it's all hearsay. And even then, when you talk, when you listen to these people, they're very smooth talkers. They're not talking like me, I'll tell you that. um, they they build, like everything they talk about, they build up into, you know, some grand thing, and it hooks people, like, you know, and they get concentrated on it, and they won't see the true stuff, like what DIY puts out, what Cash puts out, what F8 puts out, um, you know, what Just Truckin' puts out. Like, you know, everybody sees his nice stuff and everything, but you know, it's nice to see that right now he's saying, hey, look, I don't have any work right now. You know, I'm struggling. It's, you know, there's not work out here. The market's bad, and you know, the problem though is I think most of his audience still doesn't realize, you know, that that's reality, and they still see all the cool toys and everything. Yeah, I'll try to read off of here because I want to like look at people. Let's see. come on with it. I'm always torn between keeping old equipment running or getting something new. I kept an old truck, and in my experience, uh, it's six one way, half a dozen the other, or close to it. Uh, any major. It all like me too. I wanted to stay away from emissions trucks. I had a pack car before, 2015, and I was making good money, constant money. The problem was every other month or every month, um, it would go into a D rate, and it was wiring harness this, DPF this, NOx sensor this, EGR, EGR pressure sensor. Yeah, I mean, yeah, EGR valve, EGR pressure sensor, not the EGR. Yeah, that was fine. But the exhaust back pressure spring broke apparently. That's the old, like the 2014, 13 pack cars. I didn't even look to see if this has any of that goofy looking crap. It probably does. I don't know, but there's so many things that's playing against you, and of course, what they don't realize, a lot of them will sign onto a carrier, and usually they'll sign onto a mega carrier, so they just pick up the phone, and the mega carrier usually will take care of stuff. Now, if they get with like smaller fleet, smaller company, they might not have that. If they have a major breakdown like this, not every fleet is going to help you out. Uh, like, to be honest, if I had that international with AFC, they probably would have maybe helped me out. They had their own shop and stuff. They would at least probably help me find an engine and buy a used engine and put it in, and then maybe charge me over time for that engine. And that's one thing though that I kind of a little bit regret that I left there, and just so happens that happened. But you know what? I could have been up in Maine and had the engine throw rod or some anywhere. I could have been out in Nevada, because I was all over the place then, wherever I could get the money to go, because that was pretty much all spot market over there at AFC. Now I'd imagine enough drivers, owner operators have, you know, uh, I don't want to say just like left, but moved on, or moved to where the money might be. But they do have direct freight over there, and I could be making decent money off of it right now, and still in the 9,400. But if you think about it, when I sold my pickup truck, I was thinking about taking the money and taking a little bit of extra money out and just buying a used engine. Trying to think of the name of the engine place up by me in Scranton. Um, they clean the engines up, they inspect them and stuff. But for me to take that money on my last little hurrah there and put it into that old truck, and still might need bushings, still might need, what is it, kingpins, the clutch. I might pulled the engine out and saw the clutch is probably screwed, which wouldn't surprise me because it was covered in diesel fuel when the last time that what happened. I ended up having a puck. I forget what they call it, but there's a puck on the side of the fuel system that has a gasket, and it ends up leaking. Well, it shot fuel all over the back of the engine. So who knows? Maybe my clutch might have been on its way out too. And then what? The transmission? Who knows about that? I already have one used power divider in it. It felt like more of a gamble. Now I'm going to keep the truck if I can. I'm going to still try to pay it off. It's still sitting in the exact same little truck stop that I left it in, because since I'm over here in Arkansas, they pinned it and zoomed in on on Google satellite view, and it's still transmitting. It's still pinging the GPS signal and everything. So it's still sitting in the exact same spot. What's this been, like almost 3 weeks now, and a truck stop hasn't realized it, and yet they wanted to. When I went in there nicely to ask if I could keep the truck there, like let's say I was visiting over the weekend, I was going to try to keep, pay them at least to have the truck there. The guy came out and told me $400 for the week. Well, obviously they don't notice the truck sitting there, or they just don't care. I don't know. I'm watching the comments fly. I'm surprised they're not coming up over here. Actually, it's kind of funny. I'm not seeing Come On With its comments on. Oh, there they are. Let's see. I was at Matt's last year, talked to a very experienced mechanic, and he recommended a factory engine rebuild rather than a shop rebuild. The shop labor is higher these days. Yeah, they push more out the door. But then again, let me look up here. I'm going to do a shout out for these guys. So I'm in Arkansas, off the beaten path. I am off of 40. So if you guys are ever over here, I will say there's not much over here. Like it's not, I'm not going to say it's, it's the South. It's the real South. I'm not going to say it's like a crap hole or nothing. It's just what, what it is, what's happening around here. But I told him I was going to shout him out. If you're ever over here off of 40 in Clarksville, so I would say we'll say between Fort Smith and where's another big city? We'll say between 40 between Fort Smith and Little Rock, in the middle there. So if you're ever over here, there is a shop. It's slightly off the beaten path. It's actually at they just built the new Loves over here. But if you get off at the Loves exit, let's say you're going east towards Little Rock, you get off the Loves exit, you make a right and follow that road down. You'll pass Tyson Feed Mill. Actually, if you've ever been to the Walmart over there, the Walmart DC, across from the DC, there's a place called Lazy Girls. Well, in there is B&E Truck Services. Their labor rate is 85. Oh, I think he said 80, but I'm going to just say it for the heck of it, $85. So if it's cheaper, it's cheaper. They had a, what was it? They had a KW 900 pulled all apart. He's redoing it. The guy obviously knows what he's doing. They had parts readily available. They can get parts pretty dang quick. I think it took them maybe like 2 hours to get my my 7-pin connector, my 7-pin wire for the trailer. Shout out to them. They charge me for everything, but hey, it's a business. I understand. But he put the wire on. We loomed it. We greased the fifth wheel. It was like $200. So, he pretty much probably charged me an hour of labor, and the rest was parts. So I can imagine what he probably got a 7-pin connector for what, $50 maybe, his cost. So it was, Clarksville, Arkansas, Drone Jones. What hotel you're in? I am in, what is the name of this hotel? Oh, it's the Hampton Inn. Oh, and I will tell you right now, all the hotels around here have truck parking. This Hampton Inn has a big gravel parking lot, easy to get into. Let's see. You might not be able to get into the Holiday Inn one over there, but there's little small motel over here called Sunset in Clarksville. Tons of gravel parking. There's tons of gravel parking behind all these hotels. And I think the Walmart down the road has has a little truck stop in front of it that you can park in and go into the Walmart. Per se, for truck parking and staying and doing what you got to do, this is like a phenomenal area. I mean, it's not you're not going to go to any fine wine and dining, but I tell you what, if you want to go down to a good place, like a good restaurant that there's plenty of truck parking out in front of, it's called Crosswoods Restaurant. It's right across from here. Phenomenal steak. I got a ribeye. It was freaking awesome. And the place reminds me of, you ever see Dirty Dancing, like when they're in the the dance hall or /bar like they got the old stage, they got the old bar there. it's like a not a hoedown, but it's it's they literally got like 5 or 6 pool tables. It's like going back in like the 70s or 80s in like the South or maybe the Midwest. It's pretty cool. And they got live music. Um, I don't know. I just thought it was neat because you don't get to see much of that crap up here. I'm a northern boy, but let me get over here. Try to read the comment here. Uh, let's see. Come on with it. Nobody puts baby in a corner. Nobody puts baby in a corner. Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, but that's this is the way it reminds me of it reminds me of Dirty Dancing, like the that old 1970s, 1980s bar, dance hall, whatever you want to call it. I don't know, like Southern Texas or something like that. I just thought it was pretty neat. Uh, let's see. Then, so that's where I'm staying. I'm staying in Clarksville right now. But to get on to like what I was saying with being hustled and all that. In the newer truck, between I when I went into this, I was like, yeah, old truck. In fact, the first truck I bought before any of this, nobody saw it. It was a blue, it was a barn find, I guess you could say. It was a blue 1988 377 Peterbilt. And what happened was, I guess the kid and the dad started building it, and the kid was helping out, and they ended up eventually getting it all together. They rebuilt had a 3406B in it, and they got it all together, and they took it to a guy to get sandblasted and painted. Well, the kid lost interest, or had a fallout, and he didn't pay. So they came down and they paid. They gave the guy the title for payment and stuff. Well, it had brand new Michelin's on it. Of course, they were dry rotted. It had Bud wheels. Rodents got into it. It was a work in progress. The problem is when I bought it, I didn't realize how much of a work in progress. I bought it for $10,000. Pretty much, what I paid for was the engine and 13-speed transmission, and at least a good looking tires. I figured I could have. I knew the front tires I was going to have to change. The back tires I could have probably got away with. But then I started looking at it closer, peeling the paint off the rubber hoses. The hoses were dry rotted. It probably needed brake chambers from sitting. They were probably all rusted inside. I had a pain in the ass getting the heater working. I had to clean the whole interior out. It just you start getting to it, and you're like, do I really want to? I ended up getting my authority. I was going to run it. I was going to run it that way. And thinking about it, I was like, man, I am a target. And I probably was. I probably would have got my authority, and it got nailed within the first couple of weeks or months. But it was a runner. I put a lot of work into it, just a little bit of work. Let's see, I had to put new headlights on it because I had those ugly plastic headlights and stuff. But that's I tried to set myself up, like I said, an older truck, and like I said, there's still problems you can have. The best thing you do is buy a truck that's already still on the road. Buy it from an owner operator that you can see takes care of the truck. And if it's emissions, like I said, you want to see that, if it's around 500,000 or 600,000 miles, you want to see that either previous owner, like wherever he bought it from, a fleet or whatnot, or he ended up changing the one box out, doing NOx sensors and stuff. Because guess what's going to happen when you buy that truck? A couple months, a couple weeks, who knows? Guess the one box is going to go on you, and you're going to need the money to fix it and to pay for it and everything. So that's like I said, I could go out here right now on the way to go and get alignment and have something happen to the truck and have to go into the dealership with this brand new truck. Just because it's warranty doesn't mean it might not sit in the dealership for 3 or 4 months. I don't know how well part shortages are catching up. Let me hear. Let's see. Okay, come on with it. It's nice to see a truck friendly place. We need more of that. And you know what though? All it would take is for a developer to come in and build some those $300,000 townhouses or whatever the hell they're freaking selling these days, and that would probably kill the whole area, or it would, the reason it's even like this is because it's not a very built up area. Like, and I'm not going to say that it's a poor area, but it's just, it hasn't been economically, I don't know, they just haven't got lucky, I guess. Uh, let's see, Jerome Jones. That restaurant you're not too far from sell really good ribeye, especially the fried cabbage. Oh yeah, yeah, the one. Well, it's literally right across from me. That restaurant. And yeah, I did get ribeye. That's what I went in there and got. Um, they had their menu was pretty, like everything in there seemed good. And it's funny when you walk in through the little door, the place that you walk in before you go into like back in time to like the late 70s, 80s area. It's all updated. It's got TV, like probably 60-inch TVs all the way around, a nice newer bar, nice new tables. But if you walk near the back, they got live music back there. They got like well, I don't know, at least it looked like 5 or 6 pool tables, at least from where I was looking at on the angle. Um, and then just glance around the corner, like there's, they have table, like a long table set up, wood table. I guess it just looks needed. Like I said, it looks like a scene from Dirty Dancing or whatnot. Uh, let's see. TVT USA top 5 rookie owner operator mistakes. Well, I guess I'm going to try to start that one out from. Well, I guess first thing, if you're becoming an owner operator, first thing you should do is make sure your home expenses and your boss at home approves of it. Because if you're on the road, no matter how much money you make, um, whatever you do, if your boss at home doesn't approve it, they can screw things up. And I don't mean just, relationship wise, but I mean money wise. If they do go out that route, um, you know, like I said, I've been through a divorce before. There's nothing to be like on the road screaming at somebody on the phone, knowing that there's nothing you can do because you're a couple hundred miles away and they're, I don't know, emptying your bank account out or uh, doing something in your house, your car. I don't know. So that I would say number one mistake is get your personal life and your personal finances in order. Because if your personal finances are in order, your business finances aren't going to be in order. Um, Number two, like let's say running out and picking a truck too fast, thinking that you need to get that truck, sense of urgency. Uh, Jumping into being an owner operator with a sense of urgency is probably one of the worst things you could do. Um, that or getting a lease purchase through, a mega carrier, depending. I'm not going to say they all suck, but majority of them do. Like, we all know Ego Waffle Logistics over there, or Holdings, I guess. So that I would say that goes right around to number two. Don't jump into something. Don't jump into being an owner operator thinking that you need to, that you're missing out on all this money, because next thing in a month the market might fall, or maybe a couple months, and if you had bad luck in that meantime, all those good settlements that you got mean nothing because you still had to spend the money. Number three, know your cost. Know exactly your rate per mile. And I'm gonna say a lot of guys don't like doing this, but add your home costs into that, because really the whole reason you're even out on the road is to have a better life at home. Unless you're a nomad and you're living in a truck or whatnot, if you're not supporting your home expenses and your family, then what the hell you're putting yourself through this for? Um, sure, if you're single, this could be fun for a while, but eventually it'll get lonely. There was a trucking channel I just joined the other day or subscribed to. He he took his uh I want to say it's not wasn't Sierra Nevada. He was in trying to think of the name of the mountain range. But anyway, he was in Colorado. He took his Volvo sleeper up a Jeep trail. Wasn't like a super 4x4 Jeep trail, but it was technically a gravel and trail, and it was literally he was cutting a path up through this pass in Colorado up the side of a mountain with the mountain actually jagging out, giant boulders above his truck, and that's great. That's freaking awesome that he got to experience that stuff. But being an owner operator isn't always cool shit like that. There's a lot of stress. You're constantly sometimes fighting with keeping your money. Either somebody's always in your pocket. So I would say, like, yeah, number three, know your expenses, know your home expenses, and get on top of your business expenses, because that's where it's at. And even then, you can still have problems. You can still fail. I don't want to say it's luck, but some of this is luck. Uh, there's only so much planning you can do and prepare. If you have a lot, if you there's some stuff that if you no matter what, even if you have money, uh, you can't throw all the money into a problem, and sometimes you still can't fix it. Like let's say you had a brand new truck and it was under warranty. Well, guess what? If the part isn't available and isn't being manufactured, you're not getting it. No matter, unless you find the part somewhere in Dubai or something, and you pay $1,000 to have it shipped out, and you overpay for the part another $2,000 or $3,000, and then you give the okay for the dealership, put it in and whatnot. That's the only way throwing money at a problem might work. But then again, what happens with the next problem and the next problem and the next problem? You keep throwing money at problems, eventually you're going to run out. So I would say, finances and knowing exactly, like I said, your home expenses and your business expenses. I don't remember if I was on number 4 or 3. We'll just say I was on number 4. And number 5, I hate to say it, but know when to give up, either know when to give up or know when it's time to make a change. This change that I made with CRL, I should have done this sooner. Like I said, there's 2 paths I could have took. If I was at AFC longer, if I would have stayed, they probably would have helped me out with an engine. They would have probably helped put it in, and they would have took it out of my settlement. I might have had to pay a majority of the money to get the used engine, but they would have probably put it in, and like I said, took it out of my settlement. If I was here at CRL, I wouldn't have had a few weeks where I was barely making any money, no matter how much I ran. It just wasn't enough between the fuel cost, the problems I was having with the truck. Because let's say if you're running a bad week in this market, and let's say a bad week is you net $2,000 or $3,000. Well, I still need $1,000 to go home for expenses a week, period. And let's say I don't know, you needed wheel seals and brakes. Let's say the wheel seals went and destroyed destroyed the shoes. Well, if you had to stop on the road and get that done at a TA or something, you need it quick, you need to keep running. You might spend $700, $800 there, maybe 1,000, who knows. So right there between your $3,000 net paycheck, the home expenses, your truck expense, well, you got $1,000 left. God forbid anything else happens. How are you gonna put that through maintenance or whatever? Plus, let's say you want to try to pay stuff off at home. Let's say you got credit card bills. Wife wants, maybe you need something for your car. Maybe your car breaks at home. Maybe something breaks at home. Heater goes. That's a pretty big burden right there. So you don't always necessarily have to quit, but you at least got to know when enough is enough, and change your business plan or your strategy. Pull a different trailer, find a different carrier. Like I was saying, if I would came to CRL sooner, I would have easily had the money before, when the engine blew up. I could have probably went easily, just had it towed. I could have probably paid to have it towed home, $2,000 or whatever that would have been, and took it over to US Truck Parts out by me in Hazelden. They would have got me a used engine, and those guys would have put it right in. It probably would have cost me like maybe what, $12,000. They would have put a used engine in, and I'd be back on the road. I probably would still have money, no problem. But that's just not how it went. I ended up getting stuck between leaving ASC and just starting CRL. So, like I said, it was the worst time for it to happen. Um, like I said, I could have probably done something with some personal funds. I did get rid of the truck for this little venture out there. But like I said, you also got to look into it family wise. It's not necessarily all my money; it's also her money. And as far as she's looking at trucking right now, it looks like it's a sinking ship. Maybe not a couple months ago when I was bringing home the $5,000 net paychecks, net settlements or whatnot. Yeah, it wasn't. Things were different there. But when she started seeing that it was harder for me to get loads, she was like, "Why aren't you moving? Why ain't this? Why are you having to drive out to Pittsburgh?" That's when she was like, I don't think we should be taking personal money and investing it into this. It looks like it looks like you might be, your business might be failing. And technically, that's basically where I was at. I'll tell you, I was basically, once the engine blew up, I failed. The only reason if I wasn't with CRL right now and had a dedicated account, I would have never even thought about getting that truck. Not at all. And especially because the customer they pull for and who they basically, like, they have some kind of connection with them because they've been with Tyson for years. So that's the only real reason why I did that. So I guess that's my 5 haphazardly mistakes I guess you could make being an owner operator. Wish I had a drink right now, but let's see. Reed, hey Jackknife TV. I am fairly new to your channel. What kind of freight do you haul, and how did you get into being an owner operator? Well, I at least dipped my feet when I first got into this. I had a divorce. I moved down to South Carolina because my ex-wife wanted to move down there to be near her grandmother, and I had to plan things out first because I needed a job. I needed a job down there first. I mean, she could have easily just got a job anywhere, Walmart or whatever she wanted, but I needed a job that paid money. So when she said she was doing that, and the court pretty much gave her the okay to do that, even though I said, I would have to move away from my family and friends and whatnot, she was going to go down there. So I already got everything ready. And I kind of jumped the gun a little bit. I got down there before she decided to go down there. Well, her mom kind of got sick-ish and stuff, and her grandma was still doing well. So guess what? She decided not to go down there. So now I'm stuck down in South Carolina, in Myrtle Beach area. And the job that I had lined up, I was supposed to work in Wilmington at the shipyard. I was actually going to be a union union worker there, moving containers around, unloading ships and stuff. Just so happens, like I said, a perfect storm. Something happened. I was literally like in the office, like ready to sign, doing my paperwork and stuff. They came back after me. They said, "Look, something happened with the union contract. We can't, we can't hire you, like a hiring freeze. I apologize. Here's some other place you could maybe go." And that was it. So now I'm stuck down in Myrtle Beach. I already got an apartment because they signed a paper stating that I had a job. I was going to get a job in Wilmington there. So now I had an apartment and a lease and everything. I had what was left of my 401k money when the divorce and everything happened, and now I had no job. So, Myrtle Beach is kind of a tourist area. There's not really like super industrial stuff. Nothing that I could have got paid at least back then in 2000 and when was this, 2010, 13 or somewhere around there. So I ended up going to Prime. I know this is like a little long story, but I ended up going to Prime, got my CDL, and that's when I at least did like it was when I got done, got my CDL and went through training and everything. They were like, "Oh yeah, get a lease truck." Well, they just so happens they had a lease truck turned in, and they're like, "Hey, if you want, you can run the truck for a month and see how you like it, and if you want to keep doing it, you can keep doing it." Well, I got my feet in. I ran the truck for at least a month, and I was like, "This, I could see how this could be." I pretty much totally relied on Prime, and I talked to other guys that lost their trucks and went back to being a company driver in Prime. I don't know how they would be running, and then they get near the end of their lease or whatnot, and maybe it was just that time. I don't necessarily know they were trying to starve them out, but they just had problems. They just ran out of loads and stuff. I'm not saying that's what they did deliberately, but that's at least what happened to them. And at that point, I was like, it's probably not a good idea to do this. And I ended up going back, moving back home. Uh, Pretty much lost the apartment down there and everything, and became a local driver for a while. And then I flip flop back and forth until about 2016, and I jumped back into the owner operator game. Let's see. Oh yeah, he was saying. Oh, I think you were up there. What were you asking for? Uh, so yeah, so about 2016 is really when I really got in the owner operator game, and I might have listened to some of the wrong people. I did get in a little overhead with taxes, and I'm still kind of paying for that. Uh, that was a little bit of my fault because, like I said, I was paying alimony. Um, my finances were stretched kind of thin, so I needed every dollar I could get. So that's kind of how I got an owner operator. It was pretty much a necessity. I mean, if I could have probably found a company job that paid rather well, but for me, since I was divorced, for me to be able to afford myself to have another family, I needed to go somewhere where the money was. And just so happens, being an owner operator was it. I couldn't get in any union jobs. Like I said, I tried to do that when I was there. I tried to become a union electrician, but the problem was when you're paying child support and alimony, you can't go be a union lineman and have them only pay you what was it? I think they were only going to pay me like $30,000 the first year. I still would have had to pay the $1,000 a month. It was over 1,000 between child support and alimony. Um, yeah, I wouldn't have been able to afford my own place to live, afford afford a car, have my own family. It would just been me, nomad style, waiting until I got up, and then who knows? She could have always went back to the court and been like, "Hey, he makes $60 an hour as a lineman now. I want 2,000 or $3,000 a month." So right now, she has no idea what I make. So, and neither does the court. So that's, like I said, it depends on what happened with you. That's just my circumstance. Like I said, I'll put it all out there. Um, but I'm not saying become an owner operator to run away from your child support. I'm just saying that let's see what I'm trying to say. Um, yeah, that's kind of how I got into it. Let's see, come on with it. Let's see. He said also, yeah, he asked what type of freight. I've done everything but tanker. Um, I've done doubles. I've done like LTL freight. Uh, I've done flatbed. I've done heavy, somewhat heavy haul, nothing too crazy big. I have done oversize. I used to haul 120-foot long utility poles. Um, I've done all the permitting and stuff for that in the Northeast, mind you. What a pain in the ass. Let's see. I've done refrigerated. I've pretty much done technically everything except for like hazmat and super big heavy haul and like super multi-state. Like I haven't really gone cross country too much, like doing heavy haul or anything like that. So like I couldn't tell you what Georgia and other states do. I can tell you kind of what the Northeast does, and for over length loads definitely, and like how to maybe take a, let's say you want to take an oversize over to Long Island. I can definitely explain that to you, but I'm not like be all end all wizard of that stuff. Um, let's see. Come on with it. The type of freight you're hauling is much more constant than most other freight. There you go. Is other freight. It's better for a family situation, in my opinion. If you're doing near $2 a mile or so, you're getting 3,000 a mile. Yeah, yeah. It's definitely, it's going to be constant no matter what. Everybody eats chicken. Oh God, I can imagine how much. Just look at Chick-fil-A, the lines going in and out of Chick-fil-A, any Chick-fil-A just about anywhere. So they obviously get their chicken from somewhere. I don't know per se if it's Tyson, but obviously I don't know. I'm just saying chicken is a really big commodity. Let's see. Come on within a week. You'll do very good. Let's see. Come on with it again. You'll want to enroll. Hold it. You want an enrolled agent if your taxable income exceeds 70,000 or more. Talk to a pro though. Uh, I There's also a thing you got to watch out for this. All right. So I had one year. I had a large firm, accountant firm, do my taxes, and they didn't necessarily know a lot about. Well, they did say they knew a lot about trucking, but I don't think they really did. So the lady or man or whoever you talk to when you first come in, you go into the meeting room and whatnot. And the only reason I knew this is because the back parking lot was closed the one time when I came up. So you go in the main meeting room, you talk to these really professional people. They sound know what they're talking about and everything, and you pay them their money. They put your everything on a CD. And it's all fancy looking. You think you're doing great with your taxes. The problem is once they're done talking to you, they go in the back room, and there's a bunch of cubicles back there, and there's young girls, maybe some young men. I don't know if they're taking their accountant courses or what they're doing, but they're the ones actually doing your taxes. Well, the one year, I guess, uh, there was a problem, and trying to talk to the lady that I actually talked to, what I thought was doing my taxes, you could tell that there was somebody in the middle. Well, when I ended up coming back there the one time in the parking lot, getting repaved up on the top, I had to come underneath the building and through it. And I could see that there were just cubicles of young college-ish kids, basically are the ones that are just doing your taxes. I don't know if they showed them or had a pamphlet or they actually were accountants, but I can tell you they were very young. Like some of them looked like they were practically in high school. Um, and they screwed up my taxes. And once your taxes are filed, trying to go back and at least not with a lot of money and prove to the IRS that's not exactly what you owe is a real pain in the ass. So there is a year that they filed my taxes. I think I made $190,000 that year gross. While out of that $190,000 gross, somehow the way they did my taxes, they ended up telling the IRS I owed $30,000, like $31,000. Yeah, that was a real pain in the ass. And pretty much I'm just stuck paying it because I've already tried to fight it. I've tried to do the taxes myself and redo it and show my, you know, show them my per diem and everything. And they took some of the per diems off. They did lower it a little bit, but then they wanted more proof. Things I couldn't show them, things that I already thought that my taxes were done with. Because by the time they got around to doing it and everything, and the IRS got a hold of it, I already got rid of a lot of the stuff. I kept the main bulk of receipts and stuff, but like I ended up printing out like my ELD stuff. So if I had to present my ELD stuff for my to prove that I was over the road or whatnot, I kept all that stuff. Well, they ended up wanting to see all that stuff. Well, I threw it all out because I didn't need it no more. It was just paperwork. So yeah, so I did get, you got to watch who you pick for taxes. Most likely what I'm going to do from now on. And also I kind of got screwed last year too, because, well, because the whole, bug thing and everything. My tax lady was inundated. She knows how to do trucking taxes because she's done them before, but she was inundated with people. She just took on too much, and I'm sure I'm not the only person, but I fell through the cracks. She forgot to, um, she basically forgot to do my taxes, and she already extended them. So, even though they're done, I have to send them in. I still get the fines. I still get all that extra shit. She did pretty much only, instead of paying her like $300, what I usually pay her, I only paid her like $80 because she was so. I was still gonna pay her something. Um, but it's just what can happen. So most likely, what I'm going to try to do is find a Truck Pacific, Pacific Tax Pro. I can just take my file out of my QuickBooks and just send it to them and let them take care of it. And hopefully, maybe I can get them to go through some of my old taxes and maybe clean up my tax situation. But it's, I'm not like going to go to jail or anything. But I definitely owe taxes. But who the hell doesn't? Uh, oh, that's okay. That's all he said right there. Is about the $70,000 a year. Uh, okay. Since I guess we went all off on the tax thing. Um, yeah, that's definitely something you want to take care of as an owner operator. Make sure your taxes are well paid for. Man, we went through a lot. But the comments were still coming in. There was a lot of good comments. I don't want to like bore anybody with just general ramblings here. Mm, another thing I wanted to get like into. Uh, let's say you're a company driver, and a lot of these guys are company drivers. They think that they'll never lose their job. They think that mm, they look at owner operators in a bad light. Like you're always getting screwed. You're always got to pay for this stuff. Um, just go back recently in like the last year or so. Look at all the company guys that I like. Some of these company guys were working 2 or 3 weeks waiting for their paycheck and never got them. I don't know why they were still working there, and these were like 200 truck carriers. These weren't like two truck owner operators. Guy just flakes out and not pays you. Um, they were waiting for their paychecks. Just because you're a company driver doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna get out of all the headaches and problems that an owner operator will have either. It can happen to anybody. Trucking is one of those businesses where it's you're not away from the house. People can, I shouldn't say can, people will take advantage of you. They always do, whether that be your own company or shippers and receivers, brokers, regular general public on the road. It's just what it is. And some of these YouTube channels, and I'm not talking about like the main pronounced ones. I'm talking about like the ones that just popped up out of nowhere, and you can tell they like pick a specific audience, um, whether that be whether that be like in the hot shot field, like the easy jump in stuff. They find a specific audience and they cater to it. Like there's even YouTube channels catering to just a single you know race for trucking, which I don't that's fine and dandy, but if that channel is the only one you're watching, that guy could be taking you for a train ride and you won't even know it because you're just watching him because you're counting on one thing. Like I said, it's to watch some of the hustling that goes on YouTube. I almost want to say that YouTube might be one of the best and one of the worst things that ever happened to trucking. Uh, because before this, wait, you go back far enough, there were guys using payphones across the country, using no GPS, no nothing. I mean, I didn't get to fulfill and live that that great lifestyle, if that's what you want to call it. I mean, at least the camaraderie was better. The people looked at you as a blue collar worker. We're getting kind of labeled into the same category as fast food joint workers now, I would say. Um, but yeah, like I said, I'm rambling on here. I don't want to like bore anybody on here. I know there's like 12 people on here. Um, Any new comments? My girl sent me. I don't know if anybody saw that. It's like a 3,000 horsepower um, pickup truck blowing up, and she's like, "Cummins doing what Cummins does best." But yeah, you know, I don't want to I don't want my viewers to think that I'm trying to scam, or I wouldn't say scam, but lead them off into a certain path. Like I'm gonna pretty much generally tell you how I feel, and the truth of things. Like I said, that truck's great out there. It's a beautiful truck. I love the color. I waited for it a little bit. Like I said, I was gonna hop on the red one because I felt like I sat around for like 3 weeks not making any money. So you know things are a little iffy at home and stuff. Um, but I'll survive. But I got the color I like. I wish I had the APU. I wish I had all that stuff. I'm going to probably have to pay for all that out of my pocket here eventually. But at least I know when I go out to the truck, it could maybe not start as a mechanical device, but I know it's going to start. I'm not worrying. Like even though that red truck, I felt it was running great. There was still something in the back of my mind saying, the red and white truck, the 4900. There was something in the back of my mind saying, hey, it's an older truck. God forbid you break down out of cell range up in like Maine or something. It was always still in the back of my mind. I always thought that truck was blown up. Even, ever since the power divider went, um, I just felt bad luck was always coming. I always thought the truck was blowing up, and eventually it did. It's kind of funny though. It decided to blow up when I didn't think it was blowing up. When I didn't have that in my back of my mind, that's when the truck actually decided. I was like, man, making money. I'm going down here. Like I would have made that week, the week that the truck blew up. I would have had. I think I would have netted like 7,400 or $7,500, somewhere around that range. Maybe more. I think there might have been a retention bonus I would have got, but you know, I, I barely ran any miles and made $7,000 net, just about. Because I don't pay no percentage. I run all off mileage and the extra costs, the stop pay and stuff like that. So I'm not paying the 20% to a carrier. Whatever I run, I pretty much know what I'm getting at the end of the week. I don't have to try to figure out percentage out of my pay and all that. But uh, and that's the whole reason I even bought that, because at least I feel like right now there's some kind of certainty in what I'm doing. If you're going to go lease on to, like, let's say Schneider, or I wouldn't say Schneider, but Schneider, they're having problems too. Like Prime's having problems. There's still people posting videos that Prime's kind of slow. Um, it's more of it's, I wouldn't say it's even a carrier problem right now. It's an economic problem, and for guys to go on there and hustle and tell these guys, everything's great, you're going to make millions of dollars out of, let's say, if they talk to 10,000 people, you might get maybe 200 make it, like make it real good. Maybe another 3,000 just mosey along through their trucking career, uh, and then the rest just do what they got to do and then fail because either spot market or they made bad decisions. Like for there's people. I'm trying not to sound conceited, because everybody deserves a chance. Everybody deserves, to move up from like a Walmart job or something like that. But stay a company driver. Um, to go from like making three or four or $500 a week to making $1,200 a week, that's great. That's great. Do that. Stay there. Get some, get some time in. Realize what kind of crazy bullshit you're getting yourself into, and then go become an owner operator. When you realize how much tires cost, you realize, how to navigate through Northeast, then think about becoming an arm when you actually know what you're getting yourself into. Don't just look at the money and concentrate on that, because you'll get blinders. You'll get blinders, and next thing you know, you're losing. You're broker than you were when you were working at Walmart. You have nothing. You're stuck on the road in the middle of nowhere with a broken truck. Have no idea how you're going to get home. You don't have enough money. You don't have enough money for fuel. Um, this happens to guys. Like I said, you go down to the truck stop down by me, and I mean, I don't know if they're there now, but there were 6 trucks. It looks like the owner operators just left. There are, one couple of them had flat tires. People, I think, were starting to steal stuff off the one. Uh, they just looked like the guys parked it and left them, and they were owner operator trucks. They got tow stickers on them, or they did. Like I said, I don't know if they're probably towed by now, but they're just in random spots. The guy just didn't have enough money for fuel, or something broke on the truck, or they weren't getting loads. Some of them. I know the one they towed. They pulled the truck out. They took the trailer, and then they just left the tractor there. So that was a mega carrier trailer, so that's probably why they did that. So there's depending on how crazy you get into this, there's easily a big chance for failure. And not only just losing the truck, but like losing where you live, losing your house, losing your family. I guess I kind of want to put that through there, because like I said, there's so much hustling and ray of sunshine, and I'm not trying to say it's the end of the world right now, but it's just not the time to come out of driving school, or even if you are an experienced owner operator, if you don't just have a truck sitting already, or that you bought cash or something, and you don't have the ability to get a direct count, something steady. If you don't know, it's like I said, a lot of the business it's not about how hard you work sometimes. Now that sometimes helps. It might help you get noticed. It's about who you know. There's a lot of small carriers out where I live. It's just like this. They obviously know somebody in Tyson. They obviously have some kind of better connection than other, the businesses do, or carriers do, or they wouldn't have the ability to steadily work for them, because most places just go to the lowest bidder that can get the thing done until a problem happens, and then they move on, and then they hope the next guy can do it at the lowest price, just a hair above, and not have any problems. And that's kind of like how some most major corporations and businesses work, because not only is the CEO getting a couple $1 million, all the stockholders are, the investment firms and whatnot. And I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but that's a big difference between a major carrier and just some owner operator with one truck coming into this. Let's see. Come on with it. Said you have more peace of mind now. Yeah. I would say as of this point, I'm not stressed out. I have a good outlook, at least. Like I said, and a lot of that helps between not only the newer truck now, but the carrier too. But I said I could still fail. It wouldn't be hard. Something could happen. Tyson could go bankrupt out of nowhere. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, but it's just my luck. Last night, so I bought this truck. And I don't know if I said this in another. I wonder. I don't know if I said this in the last live feed, but I bought the truck. I bought the truck, and I literally had maybe like 6 hours. I'm parked down here, and a thunderstorm comes through. Next thing you know, there's hail hitting the truck. Luckily, it wasn't really big, but still, like, brand new truck within 6 hours getting hit with hail. You know what? Yeah, I did talk about it in the other live feed. That's the kind of things that happen. I could have been on my way here and smashed into a deer and ripped the whole radiator and everything out of the truck. Nothing is guaranteed. The only thing you can do is have a lot of money in your pocket and have a plan. Like I said, and what I mean by plan, like if the spot market goes, you should already be, when you get into the spot market, let's say you are in the spot market, let's say you got in earlier. Nobody built relationships up with anybody. Everybody took the highest bid. Everybody just thought that this gravy train was going to run forever, and obviously it hasn't. And like I said, that's where knowing people comes in more handy than sometimes you can even get yourself out of having a bad business mindset if you're able to. I'm not saying leech, but if you're able to connect yourself with people that see your worth in a different way or whatnot, and feed you work. So it's there is a little bit of luck, but then again, like I said, it's a lot about who you know. Let's see, come on with it. Stability and predictability is not talked about much in trucking, but I believe it matters more than most other factors. Let's see, TBT. That's crazy. Get the hell out of here. Yep. Yeah. So that right there, I was wondering if it was going to turn into like golf ball size hail or something. I think it probably got the pea size, and that was about it. And it was only for at most maybe 3 to 5 minutes it lasted. So yeah, I was just waiting for the hail balls to start falling and smashing the windshield out and stuff. I would have thought, I'd have been like, let's get my violin right now and start playing. Oh, you know what? Now thinking about it, here's a good example. So um, we all know. Oh, I can't believe I forgot his name. We all know Garrity Sons, right? Garrity Sons. We all know the trucking YouTube channel, Garrity Sons. Um, his shop burned down. You don't know how long insurance is going to take to pay for that stuff. In the meantime, he's lost trucks. He's lost equipment, tools. You know, he's still got bills to pay. He's still got people to pay. You would think that he's on top of the world, but I'm not going to say he's hurting. I don't know his actual financial or anything like that, but just something like Garrett, yeah, Garrity. Um, but I don't know his whole financial thing. But look at that. That was totally unexpected. Um, and yeah, so you have insurance. But how long is it going to take? It might take a year before any of that even gets replaced or fixed, or even get a check. They're going to investigate it. They're going to see if maybe his workers were careless. Depending on the insurance company and stuff, it's going to turn into a big fiasco. And he's still not going to have the check right away. And you still got to have time to buy stuff. Time that at that time, at that period, you're still trying to run a business. You still got the loads to deliver. You still got so maybe some of the equipment to some of his um, customers. That he has. Like I know he had the boat customers and stuff. What happens if those boat trailers were in the shop and he lost the boat trailers right there? Those were like custom built. Well, not custom built, but he found those trailers specifically for what he needed. And you're not just going to go out and get them like that, especially if he's still got to pay for stuff out of his pocket. He might have to pay more money now that he doesn't have a shop. So now when he breaks down, he might have to pay somebody to fix his trucks. It all adds up real quick. And I'm actually might even go by there. Um, I don't know the guy per se, but I watch his channel and everything. I was thinking about maybe stopping there and getting something for him, like toolbox or something. But I don't know if I think already 1 million people already shot down in there, and I know it'd be, my wife would frown on it if I went out and bought like a $400 or $500 Harbor Bay Freight toolbox for the guy. But I kind of felt bad for the whole situation he's in, even though even though technically he's doing pretty well. It just takes something like that to totally turn turn you upside down and show you what can easily happen. Uh, yeah, you can say it like that too. Gentry and Sons. Let's see. Come on with it. that's that luck factor you were right there talking about. Yeah, and yeah, I wouldn't say that's luck, but it's just how quickly things can change, no matter you know how much money you got and what's going on. Um, I know he lost. I think he lost what he lost. He had that what that. I don't remember. I don't know if he lost that Peterbilt, that red Peterbilt he was building. I don't. He lost that. I think. I know he lost that cab over he was doing. I don't know if he lost the new the Freightliner cab over. What the heck are those called? The Argosy. I don't know if that was in there, but he lost all that stuff. And like I said, since he had that little niche, if he had that equipment in there too, you're not just gonna find those, that setup anywhere. He's been searching for that setup to do exactly what he did. And like I think the last video I watched was who came down there and saw him? FS Speed Shop. He came down there to help him out and everything. That was the last video I just glanced at and watched for a little bit. So like I said, I don't know exactly what he lost, but like it can, look at the fleet and the empire he built, and to have something like that happen. So you just imagine you're just one little owner operator with a 9400 dinky little truck. It can just like that. So it's not a job, it's a business. And a lot of guys get into this. They think it's, you're still just a driver. That's not really what it is. And then they also forget about, like, I got that speeding ticket. That was, I swear to God, I wasn't trying to really speed, wasn't doing anything. I just got complacent. That's all. I was in the middle of nowhere, got complacent. Didn't see the speed limit sign because I went into the little truck stop there, and right where the speed limit sign, wasn't paying attention because I was turning the truck stop, and I came out and got on the road and went back up to like 58 mile an hour and a 55. Well, guess what? That little town that I went through, there was like a farmhouse and two buildings. Didn't make no more mind of it. Well, guess what? It got me a speeding ticket. You know, if I technically it was 15 mile an hour over. I did plead it down, but it's still going to screw me. You get two of those, 15 mile an hour speed limits, you can lose your CDL. It's easy as that. And to be honest, 15 mile an hour and like a 55 mile an hour zone, we've all been out here on the highway. It really isn't a big deal because everybody's freaking doing it. You'll be at a 65 mile an hour zone. There's people doing 100 mile an hour. They're not just like one or two, like whole packs. So it's that easy. Yeah, it could ruin your career and and everything. Let's see, TBT. He lost his. Oh, he did. He lost his father's first truck. Was that the? I think that wasn't that a cab over? I can't remember. I know he did get. I know I saw a little bit of the video where they did like rescue one of the trucks out of there too, but I didn't really get to watch the whole damn thing. I just having to get on the airplane and all kinds of stuff. Let's see. TBT USA. The other guy lost the lost the mustard. His late mother's. Was that yellow cab over? I think there was like a yellowish cab over they just got. Yeah, see, like shit like that. Like it can. Oh, Mustang. Oh, the Mustang. I thought it was that. I thought he had that yellow cab over. Yeah, like it's stuff like that you can't replace. That freaking that sucks. Could have lost the mustard too in the fridge. Uh, you know, and like I said, there's stuff like that money can't bring back. And the same thing, when you get into this in trucking, if you do become an owner operator, and if you're not really successful and you don't have the money coming home and you have a family and a wife and stuff, and she's dealing with kids throwing up and stuff, which I don't know, she might even be watching this, so I doubt it. It was my dad that called. That puts a lot of stress on them. And then for you to go out and have your own stress and be running around trying to do this trucking thing, you might lose your family. Not like, yeah, well, like here's the biggest thing I'd only be worried about. What happens if I'm across the country right now? Let's say, like here, let's say I'm in Arkansas, and let's say it was earlier in the day. My wife went out with the kids, going out in Allentown to go to, I don't know, Costco or something. Well, she's on 78 with all these other idiots, steering wheel holders. What happens if she got creamed by a semi truck? How would we get on an airplane? It's still going to take, what, 5 hours to get out there, no matter how hard and how fast I, went and did anything. You can lose your family and not even be there for them. And then that's kind of like a little bit, what I say, that trucking kind of don't pay what it should. Like I know for a fact that there's linemen that make $250,000 a year, and they go across the country. They got full pension, they got benefits and stuff, and they end up working through a lot of shit. I'm not saying they're on the same level as a truck driver, but at least you know they might be getting paid for it, and they're not always gone. Like usually, if you're a truck driver, you're on the road all the time. Um, I don't know. I'm kind of got off here, but what I'm just trying to say is, what some of these guys are doing, especially if they're working company, like with Western Express and stuff, to be making like $1,000 a week doing what they do and be away from their family. I can't see why you just couldn't work overtime at a warehouse job for $22 an hour or something, whatnot, and still do the same amount. I'm not trying to belittle anything, but I don't know, like what you said there, they lost a lot of stuff, sentimental value, and I don't know. I guess it just brings up thinking about like that. Uh, I generally feel bad for the guy. Um, you know, I did kind of reach out to them on IM and seen if, because I know they did the rebuild with the scam truck, and I was going to see if maybe I would have been fine with paying him. I would even work for him if I had to, because that's where I was at. I kind of wanted to still keep the truck, and I didn't, like I said, I didn't really technically want like a $200,000 debt, but I reached out to him, and he didn't, I guess they weren't interested, or they thought I was scammy because maybe the way I presented myself, because I don't ask for help from nobody. I'll crash and burn all the way to the end. um, but heck, my truck could have been in there. If he would have, if he would have took it, it could have been sitting in the shop right now getting a rebuilt. So, if you think about it, everything happens for a reason. Well, I'm not say that, but maybe he'll come out better somehow in this. I know he was trying to build a new shop and stuff. Well, there's a little bit of a restart button though. But like I said, there's some sentimental value things. He lost it, he'll never get back. It freaking sucks. I feel generally bad for the dude. Um, but look how well he was doing, and that happened to him. It can, I'm not saying your house is gonna burn down or something, but it's just what trucking is. And like I said, if he lost anything that pertained to a certain customer or business, he might lose that customer. It's just what can happen. You can have somebody come in and underbid you. Uh, you know, there's always a struggle to be had in trucking. It's a business, and a lot of guys, like I said, do not look at it as a business. They look at it as get rich quick. Um, just regular company driver. If I just hold the steering wheel, money's just going to overflow into my pocket, and that's not necessarily the case. Um, like I said, talking about things we can have at home. Look at the. I'm not going to mention that because that's kind of personal stuff. But there's somebody that was making a lot of money, was doing great. He had his own. I'm sure we know who I'm kind of talking about. He had his own trucks. He was buying everything cash. Had his own customer. Was talking about how his customer was, loved him and everything, and he had some personal stuff happen in his life, and for all we know, he's, in jail or whatever. Stuff can happen like an instance. So that's what I'm trying to say is take what you, as I'm saying stuff, take what you hear on YouTube with a grain of salt. Yeah. So let's see. There's 7 people here. It's what, 9:30, just about 9:30. I've been at this for I don't know, probably almost an hour and a half now, 2 hours. I'm gonna say. I don't know, maybe 2 hours. Anybody want any more of the knowledge I possibly have up in my head here? I know. Let's see, TBT. He's, like a lot of you guys are all um, veterans, I would say. So, but I'm hoping this video like gets a hold of somebody that just so happens is looking on YouTube and seeing all this. You're gonna make $1 million in 2023, and best time to start trucking, and come over to blah 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 and lease purchase this truck, and yeah, go. I'm hoping it goes to somebody like that, at least makes them think. Maybe watch the video for a while, maybe go through some of the comments in there, and yeah, just don't feed into the nonsense, the hustle and stuff. Not only is it going to help you, but it'll help the entire trucking industry. Um, that's kind of some of the problems we've had since the whole technical driver shortage and yada yada yada. And where's this driver shortage now? Yeah, so I would say the driver shortage thing is the same thing as pouring money in, the Fed pouring money into the economy. That's all the driver shortage thing is. It's companies, the government, whoever benefits from cheap rates, pouring money in and devaluing the trucker currency, which is, I would say, um, you're worth. How many truckers are out there, how many drivers can make run a load. um, you can just go anywhere and get any steering wheel holder to move your load for nothing, and why even bother paying well. Oh, oh yeah, I went on StreamYard here, and I I almost forgot I was on StreamYard, actually, thinking about it. um let's see how I do this again. I know, like I said, I don't get on StreamYard very much. Let's see, post a comment. How about this? So I'm not poking the screen the whole time. As if it'll even let me log in here. Uh, do, do, do. It's gonna have me verify my thing. Yeah, I know this is a little boring. I should have had something like this set up already. I've like practically forgot I was even talking to StreamYard on here. Shows you how professional of a StreamYard I am. Oh, there we go. Let's go back to YouTube now. I assume everybody's on YouTube, right? Doubt anybody's just watching me on StreamYard. I'm gonna post this link. There you go. Give me a second. I think somebody knocked on the door. was a freaking pizza guy. I guess he looked. I don't know. He couldn't speak very well English, but he was looking for 213, and I'm 113. So, oh, has an update. I'm still not even in a chair right now. That's pretty interesting looking. Oh look, here I am. Let's see, is DIY still in here? I mean, it is his fault about your luck, so he can. It is his fault. Everyone said that. Yeah, because technically that's my fault. I'm the one that ended up not knocking on wood when I said that about the engine. Well, the only thing that can happen is my engine blow up. There you go. Spun a bearing. Eventually, whenever I do get that, well, whenever I have time, considering what to actually keep working now, I can't. Well, technically, I probably could get away with maybe taking a week or two off, but eventually, I'd like to get that, 9400 back in, when I get it home. I'd like to take the oil pan off of it and at least try to see what's going on in there. Oh, I'm pretty sure though, everybody heard it, knocking on heaven's door. I'm pretty sure the crank's shot. That I would be amazed if there's anything left of it. Let alone, I don't know if I'd want to use the rods. Especially if the rock is sitting there knocking like that. It could have fractured the steel. It could have fractured the rod. Who knows what it could have done. But I would like to at least get that apart and maybe show what happened. I don't think, I don't know. It all depends on how things go. I don't think I'm going to put an engine in it till it's paid off. Like I said, I think I have 15 or 16 more payments to do on it, and that truck's paid off. What I would like to do is keep it. Like I said, I know a few people I could hire onto here and run that truck. But if I end up doing that, I'm going to put a decent used engine in it. I'll probably put a new clutch in it. Maybe crack open the transmission, see what's going on in there. I don't know. I might even put a driver in this thing because who the hell wants to drive an old 9400? I was fine with it. I mean, I don't know. Maybe going from there to there might be different. I could tell you it's so nice going down the road in complete silence. It's nice when you hit bumps. You don't feel like your neck's going to break. It's like I said, it's like driving a modern day. Like I said, it's like driving my wife's Traverse. It's like driving a 2020 Traverse around. So, now I don't know. Like, I've never had anybody come onto my live feed, so if anybody did click that link, I wouldn't even know. Yeah, I wouldn't even know if. I guess it would pop up every guess. Oh, all right. That's pretty simple. Yeah, you can just go right down here. Man, I tell you what, I sure as hell have no idea what I'm doing on StreamYard. Poking the camera much. That's kind of like why I'm glad I got this two cell phone set up. But then again, that ain't gonna really help me until I have a whole Wi-Fi system set up in that truck. And like I said, I'm not gonna be blowing any money here for a while until I'm, like I said, I just sat for 3 weeks, taking money out of the savings account, keeping everything going. So, let's see, TBT USA, driving this 23 Freight Traeger in Indiana, I feel my neck was going to. Well, that's because you're driving a Freight Traeger. I tell you what, the worst. Where was I? I want to say it's 70. I might be wrong. I can't even like my brain got shaken so much I can't remember the road I was on. But I was going up to Michigan, and I know I ended up having to go. I didn't have to go to Detroit. I know I had to go up that way, and then I had to go over to Traverse. Whatever that road is over there, going up there in Michigan, um, maybe it was 55. Fuck, I can't believe I forgot. Like I said, I never wanted to go up there again. My microwave fell, and that thing was strapped, and I mean super strapped. My microwave came the hell down. Um, my toolbox doors, on the side of the truck opened up. Uh, I thought I swore. Oh, that's also when my brand new That's when I found out that my batteries were not held down. The brand new batteries were installed when I bought the truck. I found out they weren't held down because I think that's the road I ended up losing a battery on. They cracked the battery open and drained all the battery acid out. Yeah, that too. Like small things like that. You had the truck what a couple. I think I had the truck a couple weeks at that point. And I pretty much ruined two new batteries, probably all of them, because I eventually ended up having to change. I changed them all out because I thought I was having battery problems, and here was the starter. Uh, but I still, I knew they were screwed because the guy they never had a hold down on it, so they were just sitting there smashing into stuff. There were bolts coming up through the battery box they were hitting. Uh, you know, TBT Verizon Jetpack sucks. Really? Um, See, the only time I ever really had ever used a Verizon Jetpack, I used to work for AAA in Philadelphia for a few years, and they used Verizon Jetpacks. But then again, I was in Philly, so um, what I was thinking about doing was either getting, I was thinking about getting like because I know a Straight Talk, their home network system, and putting it in a truck and paying, because it's only like I think $60 a month for unlimited internet for Straight Talk. And I figured since it says it would hook up to multiple different networks, I figured maybe that would be good because I figured it would run off Verizon, it would run off AT&T, and I think T-Mobile. I think that's what Straight Talk uses because I figured, if they could, they had a contract with all three of those networks, it would just pick whatever cell tower was closer and work all. But I mean, I don't know. I kind of don't want to just buy the damn thing and then have it not work and try to take it back. The only other thing I was looking at was, I know AT&T. I'm not AT&T. Well, I do have AT&T on my phone, but um, it's probably a little. I think it's a little expensive to get unlimited internet Wi-Fi through them. But I was looking at T-Mobile, and I figured, especially now considering I'm with CRL, I'm usually not ever super in the middle of nowhere. Usually on the East Coast here, uh, up 95 corridor, 81 and stuff. I figured T-Mobile, that I don't know, giant home Wi-Fi system would work good because I am gonna put a 32-inch Samsung TV in there, so I can stream right from my phone. As a Samsung phone, you can easily stream right to the TV without even use local Wi-Fi. I don't even have to use the Wi-Fi box. But the real reason I want to put it is I want to get an Xbox so I can play with my kid. Even though I won't be home, like build up a bond over Fortnite, I guess you could say. It's kind of funny saying that, but that's kind of like what I want to do. I want to get the internet so I can, obviously do this, and pretty much play Fortnite with my kid when he wants to play. Uh, you know, because my dad was always home, but again, my old man, he'd be gone when I would go to school, and I wouldn't see him until probably he'd get home around 5 o'clock. So he'd leave at 5 o'clock in the morning and be gone until 5 o'clock at night. And he would watch TV with me. He'd go to bed around 8, something like that, 8 or 9 or something. And I don't. My kid definitely don't even get that. So, um, I kind of want to have some kind of bond with him. And on the weekends though, I'll take him fishing and stuff. But that too. Like I said, if you're an owner operator, you got family to worry about. You can't be just going out for months at a time. They develop personality disorders. I wouldn't say they they will, but I don't know. I'm just coming from a father as a a father. I'm trying to anybody who watches as a father to their kids within the trucking industry, especially nowadays. It's not like there was nothing to influence kids before. Now you got TikTok, you got YouTube. If you're not a part of their lives, who knows what's going to happen. Oh, TBT says good idea. So let's see, there were like 12 people in here. Now it dropped down to 6. I guess I'm not keeping anybody. You know what? I didn't even bother seeing. I didn't even bother seeing if anybody else was going live today. Like I said, I don't like stepping on people's toes because, well, usually what happens is, I'll come on and everybody head over to Cash is King or whatnot. I also don't want to bore anybody to death. So, what is it, like 10 o'clock almost? Yeah, it's almost 10 o'clock. I guess unless anybody wants to pop in here or has anything to say, there's only so long one person can talk to, I'm running out of ideas. I mean, I could probably easily start babbling about something, but yeah. I mean, I could talk about the truck. The truck's great, ride's great. I'm eventually going to try to go through some videos about the digital dash, maybe how to set that up, maybe show some topics about the truck. I know one thing: the fenders on the side of the truck, the flares, they vibrate a lot and make a little bit of noise. I don't think they should be doing that on a $200,000 truck. Maybe like an actual proper review. But a lot of people, like even when I was looking for next gen stuff, a lot of people didn't make any videos about next gens. I guess they just didn't come in yet or not. I'm hoping you can hear me. I'm trying not to talk very loud because I do hear people going in and out. And I'm not trying to like keep everyone up in this hotel here because if you look at the door, you can see light through it. So I'm sure people can hear me. uh, resist Riesland and Endeavor. What kind of freight you've been running, and do you have your own authority? Also, what's your opinion on RGN and flatbed stuff? All right, so I have pretty good extensive knowledge with flatbed and some oversized, not necessarily RGN. I do have a buddy that does some RGN, so that's basically why I even know a little bit about it. Well, it depends. What are you trying to figure out about RGN and flatbed? You know, right now, is it good to get into? I mean, it all depends on what your skill level is, I would say, in that, or if you have any idea what you're doing, really. RGN, you can you can get some really big tickets, let alone kill people in an RGN. Um, you get some oversized loads and go certain places you aren't supposed to go or didn't get the right permit. You're talking thousands of dollars, like a $5,000 ticket, like that. They don't play with that crap. Um, Also, the different equipment you're hauling, it all depends on a lot of stuff. Now, I will say this: RGN pays, flatbed does too. The problem though right now is the economy, and also the big problem is a lot of the dry van guys, when dry van took a hit here earlier, in the year in 2020, when things started going downhill, and even kind of when reefer did, they all jumped over to flatbed because they were desperate. That flooded the flatbed market. And I mean, it probably went down by now, but then again, also you're in winter right now. You're in winter now with a bad economy. At least not a pro. I wouldn't say. I don't want to be like political, but it's just if you look around, you can see what's going on. I'm talking about if you're just watching CNN or MSNBC or clicking on news articles. Just look around, talk to people, talk to FedEx guys, talk to UPS guys, ask them about how they're sitting around doing nothing. Um, they're dropping runs, and guys are sitting at home waiting for phone calls and stuff. Talk to. There's supposed to be a couple warehouses that are supposed to open up by where I live. I don't know if they did it because interest rates went up, or they just did it because they don't foresee, an economic good outlook. Um, it's a niche. If you know somebody, and like you can get in somewhere with that RGN, or even with a flatbed, go ahead and do it. If you're pretty sure you got an in somewhere. But well, let's see, where was exactly you wrote? Let's say, what kind of freight you've been running? All right, so here, I'll answer this with the freight. I've ran oversized utility poles, all the way up to 120 feet long. I've ran some small dozers with an RGN, small excavator, I ran a small excavator and a sort of oversized one, nothing really big. It only came out, I think it was like 6 inches on each side. But you're still talking about like the excavator was 90,000 pounds. And I never went real far. Like these are mostly local moves I've done with like super oversized shit like that. Now the utility poles, I've kind of went up and down the East Coast a little bit with them, so I kind of know a little bit about at least permitting in different states. But you gotta not only do you have to rely on the information you get on the phone, you have to rely on whether or not the DOT officer will interpret it the way it sounds to you, and stuff like that. So I don't know what exactly are you trying to do with RGN, or flatbed. What is your expectations? I guess it's a little. I can give a broad spectrum of flatbed or RGN, but I mean, what exactly are you trying to? Are you just trying to find out everything you can about it, or are you trying to find out, um, the permitting process? I want to make sure if you're asking, I'm giving you the information, that you need to succeed on whatever you're doing. What I do, time out or something? I figured he would have said something by now. Well, if you want, you can click on the link. I don't know if I put the link in there. Yeah, it's not too far away. You can come on here and ask me. You can type it if you want. All right, I thought I saw it do something. But yeah, that's that. And I would say my opinion. Yeah, flatbed and RGN, you can make money. It's probably the most, for mistakes. Well, it depends. Business-wise mistakes. It's the most forgivable. Here we go. Somebody's coming on. It's probably him. Oh, it's TBT.
Hey man,
Yo, what's
can
up,
you hear
TBT?
me? Can you hear me?
You know what? Well, here, I don't know how well the audio is going to be, but I'm going to have to pull this out because I can't.
Test 1 2. Test 1 2.
Do I still sound pretty good?
Oh, you sound fine. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I had to pull the lapel mic off. It blocks the audio.
Well, long-time listener, first-time caller, sir. Just curious. So you mentioned something earlier about you may end up keeping this truck, and then let me just turn that CB down. And you said that you may do what I think you used the words the mega carriers do, and then sell it and buy a new one, right?
Yeah.
So what is your your comments on other people out here. As you well know, there's lots of YouTubers out here that say that it's foolish to do, and then there got some that say that is the smart thing to do. You notice how trucking is always, everyone has their opinion. They're like,
Well,
everyone
I would say like obviously like you know how I was talking about Gentry and Sons earlier. Obviously, he has connections. Obviously, so to me, well, I mean, I think he is trying to buy some newer trucks. I know he did talk about it, but to me, for what he does, he can easily run older trucks. He has his own shop. He in the operation that he's doing, he he can run older equipment and make out probably better or the same as he would running newer equipment. He can still find drivers to run the older equipment. He can still repair it. He's got now it might be a little bit different, but like I said, he still has a shop or did. But he can overcome those problems. Now with mega carriers, the reason a lot of them went to newer trucks is because you have 2, 3, 400 guys who plant out of those. You got that big group of guys. They're obviously going to have guys who beat the crap out of the equipment. They can't be having great jobs all the time. You got to at least have those trucks up and running at least 95, 99% of the time. And obviously for what there is I guess general freight, obviously they're doing something right because they're pulling in millions of dollars a year. I mean, I know about that. I think your question. CBT?
Yeah, hold on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sorry.
He said, I signed on to a new heavy haul company in Chicago, running 53-foot step load, and the other is a 60-foot man. So you want to flip one out and begin I think your audio is better than yours.
It's an extreme. It's one side or the other. You know what I'm saying?
Audio is messed up with what, me or TBT? I know Come On With It just said I can't hear Jackknife. You only hear TBT.
Let me jump out then.
Is that better? Can you hear me? You only hear TBT. I don't know. I can hear myself here. Let's TBT. Go ahead and click on that and see if you can come back in. Maybe it was just a I don't know connection on your end or something like that that screwed it up. It was just real low on Jackknife. Can you hear me now? Does it work? I used to give a thumbs up or whatnot in the comments. No. Like, go ahead and try to come back in. You ain't messing nothing up. See if it works. As for
Riesland, Endeavor. What were you saying there? We're looking at the. Let me go back up with the 53-foot step deck. I tell you what, 53-foot step deck is the way to go. 53-foot flatbed, depending on where you go, what shippers you got to get in and out of, is definitely the way to go. Like therefore, when things hit the fan, partials like saved my ass. Let's try this again.
Hey, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Now let's see. Hopefully everybody can hear you.
I can hear you. What might be happening might be
How's that, guys? You can hear me now better, TBT?
I can hear you.
Yeah, there you go. That's probably a lot better.
Yeah, you sound pretty clear
Come on
now.
with it, said. Yeah, I think that's what it was. I think it was reverbing through. I think what happened was when I pulled this out, I think it left the speaker, I don't know, the speaker mode on, and I think it was just reverbing back through itself.
Oh, okay. But anyway, I was just curious because I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I just thought it was interesting that it's always like one. You even mentioned or see, come on with his comments, right? He's got. I think the last time he mentioned, he says he's got no 06 or something like that, but he's been knocking it around if he wants to get a new one or not. So it's like do you stick with getting a new one every 3 years or something like that or whatever because you want the peace of mind of not having to worry, and obviously this is a false statement, but not have to worry so much about maintenance, even though we have to worry about maintenance no matter what. I mean, I'm driving a 23 truck and it's been in the shop 4 times, and I've only been driving it for about 4 months. So so shit happens. I get that, but or do you drive an older truck and like you did, and then you just kind of obviously instead of banking that money away on a brand new truck payment, you put that in a maintenance fund. So I'm just curious on what's the better route. To be honest, even though I like to drive a new truck, everyone I think likes to drive something new. Um, but what is actually the benefit? So what's the best really in trucking? I'm still trying to figure that out.
Well, that even depends too. Like I said, it's almost a matter of luck. Because I thought the same way. I thought if I got an older truck, I'd be able to bank away enough money that that nothing would bother me. The problem here's what the problem is too. When you think about breakdowns and stuff, you're like, you always look at the mechanic you're using. You always look at the area that you're in, that you live, that you get the truck worked on. Well, when this stuff happens, you're on the road. Um, you might have to go to TA. That because you might have a decision. Either I have it go to TA and they get me in within a couple hours and get it fixed right away, and I'm get back on the road and start making money, or I go to a shop, wait till they get done to other people, and then get you in, lose a day or two of pay. All that stuff adds up. It's usually the little things that nobody thinks about. That like I could say, even with the newer truck, if I break down, and I get stuck at a certain Kenworth dealership, it might take them 2 days before they get me in. It's just the way it is, even with a newer truck. But I would say the biggest thing is, at least in my head, I can get in this truck right now and drive it up to northern Maine, and I don't think I'm gonna, get stuck up there. With the other truck, when I was up in northern Maine, it was always in the back of my head. It's an older truck. Something could happen. God forbid I'm out of cell phone range. What am I gonna do? Walk like 60 miles until I find a house or somewhere to call road service if I can even get road service or whatnot out there. Um, you know, it
Well, I think
also
I'm with.
depends on.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean, I just think it's kind of like what you said though, luck, right? So, um, and it kind of, uh, this is what kind of came to me about the new truck and breaking down versus an old truck. And this has happened when I was we were in New Mexico and we broke down for 5 days over a thermostat because no one had the flipping part. So we finally had to get towed to a dealership, which was about freaking, I think, 100 miles away or more. And then we had to sit there for 2 flipping days after that before they even looked at the freaking truck. And obviously, I knew as soon as they'd get it in, I mean, shit, how hard is it to put a thermostat in? Boom, bang, bang, and we were done. But we were down all that time because of that. So, like you said, that's lost income. You're not running, so you lost all that money. And if you're paying on a payment on a new truck, and you're doing that as well. So to me, right there, it seemed like, well, it seems like, maybe buying an older truck and not have to have a payment or not trade it in after you, or say you buy a new truck and you don't trade it in and you keep that no payment truck. Is that the better of the business? And I kind of lean towards that, but in the same token, I kind of like, Chicken Hawk, I've talked to Chicken Hawk quite extensively on and offline. And it's worked for him. And he's been trucking for almost 30 plus years, over 30 plus years, and it's worked for him. So I guess in a nutshell, as I ramble on, like you just said, I guess it just depends on luck or Murphy's Law. Yes, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. It, yeah, with that one. It's hard to really say, but like there is a little bit of luck involved in it. Um, but look, I had that old International, maybe not necessarily because it was old, but just necessarily because where the center leak was located, the warehouse, and because of you know um, coronavirus, was going on and everything. Um, it still took almost over a week between the holiday and everything for me to get that cross tube. I was still out of off the road for like a week and a half until I could get the cross tube and from a warehouse over in where was it coming out of? I think like Phoenix area or something. Because it was even air shipping it, they couldn't say it was going to get there. It might still take 4 or 5 days because of Fourth of July. It was right around Fourth of July, so the only good thing I had, well, the only thing that I had going is I still had a payment technically, but it's like, a $900 a month truck payment's like nothing. Um, but I still had bills coming out. I still had things, so it can still go both ways. Now, taking in mind, I could have went down to the junkyard and pulled one out of the junkyard. That's probably the only other good thing about having an older truck, especially when it's plentiful, is you can still if you have to and you have a junkyard nearby, you can get parts for it. It's not like the guys with the Freightliners that were dealing with that module who are like down for months, some of them. But there's a yin and a yang that I would say to everything now. It's not like the good old days where you took your 3406B, you got in, and about the worst thing that could happen is you might blow a hose or radiator hose, or you might lose a belt. Those days I think are kind of long gone now for most guys. Um, and I don't know, it's kind of unfortunate. So I would say the only way to definitely mitigate some of that issues or some of that bad luck would be a new truck, unfortunately. Just the cost of components have went up so much that it almost makes it, dumb to go out and get a used used emissions truck, unless, like I said, if you're looking at, let's say used emissions truck, look and if you can get the paperwork for it and see that they put a new one box in it, new NOx sensors and all that stuff, then sure, you're still taking a little bit of chance, but at least all that stuff was done. But if you just go out to some random used truck lot, just pick a random, we'll say a 2014 Cascadia with 700,000 miles on it and know nothing about it. If that one box has been on there for 700,000 miles, it's a ticking time bomb. It's not uh, it's more like if it'll go. It's more like when it'll go, because it's obviously gonna go, and um, that's the biggest thing I would say between you know old trucks, because you're just not going to get old pre-emissions trucks. They're starting to disappear now. Maybe with California doing what they're doing, the market will trickle a few more, a couple thousand more or 100,000 more used pre-emission trucks into the market, throughout the country. But eventually, you're just going to start running out of parts, or depending on the administration, they'll just adopt the same bullshit California's doing. And where are you then? You know,
Yeah. And you mentioned one other thing, and I'm curious on your outtake on this of what you mentioned about. You said, well, you may take your old truck and drop an engine in it, and then you may maybe drop someone in it to I know you're probably just spitballing or whatever, but I don't know how far you are actually seriously doing that. Putting someone else in it and running that truck for you. Um, I know that this has come up several times. I think in Wheel Burners Live, and he said it. And once again, Chicken Hawk has said it. But other people, were thinking about hiring another person on too. I think James Best was going to try to get another guy onto his stuff. But they were saying, Wheel Burner and uh, Chicken Hawk, so to speak. I guess they've done it, and they say that it's not worth it. It's unless you have 5 trucks or more, only having one extra truck is just more of a headache and more of a hassle to have the driver and the insurance and blah blah blah
if
blah. What is your take on that?
I would say if you're not if you I would say if it's just like Will Burner's doing the I guess he's still technically running, but if it was just let's say if you weren't actual a driver and you only had one truck and you bought a truck and you're going to put a driver in it, especially if you never really got into trucking or whatnot, I would say it wouldn't be a good idea. It, the quality of drivers out there, if they are a decent driver, somebody's already has them. They're usually already happy. The only reason I would do it is because the two people I know specifically, it's mostly they're great drivers, but it's mostly the area that they're in, and they're older. They're like the one guy, the one gentleman. He's just about. I think he's turning 52 this year. Um, the other one's 40. I think turning 40. Um, they don't want to go out to the prime. They don't want to look and out. They're happy with knowing a local little guy and getting a truck. They work hard. They know what they're doing, and that's the only real reason I would feel comfortable with doing that. If it was just some random guy, because there for a while I did hire a few random people. So um, the one guy he didn't even he showed up for the first interview. I interviewed him. I pretty much gave him the job, and then the first day he didn't show up. Well, all he did with that is the paperwork that I gave him. He forwarded that to child support, and he was just using me to keep child support off of him. So he was just job hopping. Um, so I had to deal with that crap and then I had to prove that he wasn't really working there, and I just go through all that process to prove that I wasn't trying to help him hide child support and crap. Um, So that, that's kind of some of the stupid crap you can go through. Just hiring some random, well, technically the two guys I fell onto them randomly too. But you can usually know, um, if you have the time to put into actually going out on the road with them, talking to them, maybe having lunch with them, you can kind of tell about a person what they're. The one guy I hired, he had his license. He had his license for a year. All right. Um, I hired him. It was the first day I had him go move the trailer, and I said, "Hey, go put those gland heads on the trailer, and then bring it over here." And I'm sitting there up the hill waiting for him, and here he comes back in the bobtail, and I'm like, "Hey, what's going on? Something wrong? You can't, hook. I figured maybe the kingpin was stuck or something, or he couldn't release the brakes on the trailer or something." He's like, "Well." He's like, I hooked up to the trailer, but he's like, what were you talking about, glad hands? I guess he thought the trailer was a stretch trailer, but maybe I don't know, maybe he thought I was talking about disconnecting the the lines on the trailer or something like that. But he didn't know what glad hands were, and he's been apparently trucking for like a year and a half.
That's hard to believe. Wow.
Yeah, and so I was, I knew he knew how to hook up a trailer, but just knowing that he didn't know exactly what they were called. I mean, I know it's still a technicality, but I was like, holy crap, I can't have you doing it. God forbid you go to do an oversize or something. I was like, I can't have this guy doing this, and you know, that was it. I was done. I couldn't even. I wouldn't feel comfortable having him out on the road. So I didn't want to have that worry, especially like if I was at sleeping at night and he was out running and doing a run at night or something. I didn't want to, have that constant worry under my head. But that's the kind of some of the bullshit you can run into. But I could see you could probably make it with two trucks though.
One thing,
you
I
aren't
don't
going
think
to.
they, I don't think they said you couldn't make it with two trucks. I think they just said it was, I think, more
It's not worth.
stress.
It's not. It's not. Yeah. If you don't get the right driver, it's not worth. It would definitely not be worth your time because you'd maybe make. Back then, I was average. Back then, I pretty much had a $750 a day cost because I was paying the driver. Um, I was paying $25 an hour and overtime after 10. So it was time and a half.
Mhm.
So after 50 hours, they were getting overtime. Uh, you know, so my bottom line was about $750 a day between fuel back then and everything. So if you only made like let's say I ran the guy and he only did maybe $900 a week, or $900 a day. Well, so I covered my costs, I covered all that, and if the guy's a problem, what did I just make out of that? 150 bucks, what, $500? I just made $500 for the week, and God forbid he was a problem. He blew out one tire. Well, there goes my profit. You know, dealing with that.
So since you were paying him hourly, was he a W-2
Yeah,
or
yeah, I
99?
did W-2. Yeah, I did W-2.
So let
Yeah.
me ask you this. I mean, for sure. Uh, how did you get around the FLSA 40-hour overtime rule?
Because truck drivers under the FMCSA are not considered. We're not. Um, what do you want to call it? Um, I try to remember the law, but we're not considered. We're exempt. That's what it is. We're
I thought
exempt
that was
from.
I thought that was only for contractors, not for actual W-2 employees.
No, that's for W-2
Really?
employees.
I'll have to
Yes.
look into that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're exempt. I just did it
Okay.
off of 10 hours. I figured any truck driver is going to run 10 hours a day. If you're not
Right.
going to, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
uh, it just made more sense than to do it 8 hours. Because the problem though is if I would have done it 8 hours, next thing you have the guy, taking his sweet ass time driving back, and It's just
Right, right.
it adds at least a little bit of wiggle room in there for a driver that's trying to take advantage of you.
So I'm trying to, I'm just trying to get some information, obviously, since, down the line, because I obviously thought about, having multiple trucks, and I thought about that whole thing and whatever, and I was just curious, and, um, you
I will
know,
tell you this: what you don't think about. I ended up here's one thing you don't think about when you hire a driver W-2. You
uh,
basically pay 12% of his taxes.
right.
So whatever his pay is, you got to calculate that there's an extra 12% plus whatever else you're offering him. Uh, on whatever you pay him. So you got to calculate that you're going to end up paying that 12% out of your pocket. So I just ended up
So,
adding 12% onto his pay to calculate it. You know, um, on what he would cost me.
so what do
Plus, I
you,
also go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Plus, on top of that, since the Obamacare Act came in account, there's no way I could find health care for them. Like that would be value, like would be worth their policy. They would have to either pay too much or I would have to pay too much. So what you can do is you have to write it up and everything. I paid them an extra $150 a week, or not a week, 100 was an extra $150 a month. I paid them for an insurance. What do they call it? I forget exactly what it was called. But what it did is said that I was paying them an extra $150 to pay for health care, and they would go and sign on, to their state website, and they would go get Blue Cross Blue Shield or whoever through the Obamacare thing. I forget what they call it. It's been so long since I had to do it. But
Well,
it was, so technically, I didn't technically offer insurance, but I technically at least gave a voucher, I guess you could say, for
right.
insurance. So they would just go on and sign on to the state website, and they would go get Blue Cross Blue Shield or whoever they decide to get off of the marketplace.
And so how do you, I guess one of the hardest things for me to try to figure out, and I'm assuming it obviously if you have a lot of capital that solves a lot of that problem, but if you don't, you owner operators, I hear them talk about it all the time on YouTube that, that obviously they need to have a maintenance fund so they can take care of their truck themselves, blah, blah, blah. Right? Now you got another truck that you're going to have to worry about having a maintenance fund, and now you have an employee that you're going to pay for. So I mean, I guess, and then obviously you must think so because you want to do that. Do you feel that's worth the stress of having that extra truck now to worry about if the truck breaks down? Now you got to worry about covering those costs.
Hold on, sorry, I was just looking up. It says, unlike most workers, truck drivers are excluded from laws that require employees to pay the minimum wage or overtime.
Okay.
So, I mean, like there are companies that like there are trucking companies that don't pay overtime at all. So that's the only thing I had going for me is mostly at least the area I was in, there were a lot of companies, unless you went to like FedEx or something, that didn't pay overtime. So
Right.
I guess that's how I kind of got around it. But you know what? A lot of when I was doing local jobs, a lot of local jobs only paid overtime after 10 hours because they pretty much assume 10 hours was a normal day for a truck driver. You know, but then again, those jobs I wasn't. It wasn't like I was getting paid like $18 an hour or something. They were all like mid $20 an hour jobs. Um, and now what were you saying real quick before?
No, I was just saying, it seems like obviously a lot of people on YouTube have that worry and not doesn't have the liquid funds to be able to sometimes get their truck fixed or whatever the case may be, and maybe they do, but then it exhausts their funds, and that's obviously their maintenance fund and whatever the case may be. Now, how do you? I mean, obviously you want to move on to a second truck possibly. And you think that's worth? And I'm not trying to talk. I'm just trying to figure it out myself. I mean, Do you think it's worth having that second truck now to worry about the maintenance costs for that truck?
Well, the only thing I'm not too worried about is like I've already done a lot of work technically to that 4900, um, like at least brake wise, wheel seal and bearing wise, and it, it's still got good tires on. But like I said, you could still have a blowout or something. At least for the person that I would be putting into it, I would feel that I could make a profit of it. At least running it here at CRF, I could definitely make a profit off of it. Um, if it was on the spot market, I might. hmm, Well, I'd probably end up having. I probably what I would do is run them a lot more locally. But at least I could at least still feel, with the payment of the truck, and considering it's going to be paid off eventually, especially while I was running him, I would just take the whatever was made, I'd put it in the maintenance account, and whatever else came out of that, I would probably pay towards, the truck payment on top of whatever I was paying. Um, my costs
Okay,
would be low. There would be more of a cushion. That was what I'm saying. So I mean, I
got
guess
it.
it all depends on how much of a cushion there is for that, and like I said, it all really it'll come down to you're putting technically you're putting a stranger in your vehicle. It comes down to whether or not that guy can make or break you. Really, is what it is, and I'm sure there's a lot of people like, I mean, especially when you talk to DIY. He's been burned countless times. Like, I'm surprised he's still doing what he does with some of the bullshit he's put up with that he's talked about. Um, at least on phone calls and stuff. Um, but you know, it just it's mind-boggling the kind of stupidity that can go on. When you put
Yeah,
a stranger in your equipment.
yeah. I think he mentioned that on one of his last lives. I think he was talking about. I think what was that live that he was doing about his 2022 year and all that kind of stuff. And he kind of did a little retrospect. I think he ended up
Yeah,
letting
yeah, I
go
remember
four or
hearing him a
five
little
people
bit.
that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and he doesn't want to really get into it too much because, like, I know he's
Right.
had people sign things and stuff like that. Um, but another thing is, like, if you look at like the Asia Maya show, or well, I don't know, I guess Mother Trucker. Uh, he just had a video out there with the guys living in cockroaches and stuff. And inside so he's in your truck, doesn't shower, and he's living with cockroaches. Who wants to deal with shit like that?
Yeah, I mean, and that's I guess that would be another thing for me. I guess depending. I mean, and you made a comment, and I don't think you do it, but I mean, maybe you would. I don't know, but you're like, oh, maybe I should put the new guy in the new truck. To me, that would terrify the crap out of me. A brand new truck and putting
Well,
somebody,
it depends. It
very,
depends. Do you know someone specifically you would hire into a position? You know,
no,
you would just take a random stranger.
no,
Now,
I wouldn't.
there,
No, I
there,
wouldn't want to. No, I'd want to do what you're doing, like knowing the person would be a lot. But I think I even mentioned, who mentioned that as well. I think, what was it, Spectre and some of the other guys have said, they don't just take anybody. They kind of feel them out, need to know who they are and that kind of thing. Because,
I will
I
tell you.
mean,
I will tell you this. Anyone that I had applied off like Indeed or off of Facebook, the first thing I did is took their name and I either Googled it, well, let alone what the normal stuff you do when you hire somebody. Um, But I Googled it. If they had a Facebook, I looked through their Facebook. Because it'll pull up what they talk about. Like if they go on like trucker news or any of that stuff on Facebook, you can find their post. And if you end up finding the guy's post and he's bad mouthing this place, bad mouthing this place, and I got fired here, and yada 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 yada. This you're like, well, am I even wasting? Am I wasting my time with this guy? Is he going to be happy anywhere? Or let's say he posts a picture in his truck, he's got piss bottles all over the fucking truck. He just posted a picture on, you know, like what,
right.
it's just, he didn't even think about it. Stupid shit like that. Um, and that's one way to look at it. A lot of guys I used to ask, I'd be like, hey, do you have any, like, since I did a lot of flatbed, that's pretty much primarily what I was doing. I said, do you got, video or photos or maybe you in the photo of some stuff that you've done or something, just to show that, just to show that you've done stuff. Like anybody can write anything down on a fucking piece of paper. But
Right.
like especially when I had when I did some of the oversight, I kind of wanted some people that had a little bit of oversight experience. Well, when the guy, when the guy posed to him, driving a freaking, what was it, like a 40 or 50-ton excavate, Euclid or whatever the heck it was off of an RGN. Well, obviously, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I don't know. I find I find the trucking industry quite interesting. I find it it's much different, I guess, from what I'm used to. So it, I like it to a degree,
It's
but it's
full.
like,
It's the way I try to, I don't know, the way I try to describe the trucking industry. It's kind of the same way I try to describe. Well, it's starting to happen in a lot of industries, but it's the same way I try to describe the farming industries. It's basically the suit and tie guy taking advantage of the blue collar guy that has no idea what he's doing. It's like almost like using smoke and mirrors. Um, and that's kind of like how I describe it, the trucking industry. Um, the lack of business knowledge, I would say, is really what's screwed things up, uh, between everything. Um,
well, I would say
you know,
so. I mean, like a lot of people, they get into it, and I've listened to them, and I've listened to them, and and it's kind of interesting. They'll come up with some stuff, and I'll be like shaking my head, like what? Um, but just because and I know there's differences, right? Like I mentioned that comment. Corporate business is completely different, and that's what I would say completely, but it is a little different than, let's say, a small business. And the reason I know that is obviously I've worked for major corporations, and I'm from the corporate world, executive management, and I know how that works. And one of the projects I did, for the first 8 months during the project, we didn't really we didn't make a profit. My GP was supposed to be 7%, and I was only making 3%. And most of that was because the inbot was too high, and the amount of money that I was generating wasn't actually surpassing the amount of money that I had to put out to make sure the contract went forward during those first months of the beginning of that contract. And I was required per the contract to hire a small businesses to go along with that going through the project. So I had to deal with small business, and the way that sometimes they were doing stuff, and I'm looking at them like, what are you doing? You can't do that. And it's like, a small business, the worst thing for a small business to do is to start acting like a corporate business, a large business, because it's completely night and day. The amount of money that a large business has that can put out, like these megas, right? And it's a perfect example. These megas can
they can
only
afford to
get
take a bigger
pennies.
chance. Yeah,
Sure. Well, they can get pennies on this stuff because they
that's
have
yeah.
thousands of trucks. So those pennies add up, but you don't. The smaller business don't have that. So you can't do pennies on the dollar. You have to do, obviously much more. So, and then I watch these lives, and I listen to these people, and watch the comments and some of the stuff they say. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense in this, as much as I know of how they're describing how their business works and where they make and how they do it. And I'm like going, how the hell is one truck going to do that? You can't think like a mega because you're not a mega. Well, that's just my thought process. Now, obviously, I'm not a seasoned veteran in the trucking business like you and everyone else that's probably listening on here, or whatever the case, or some of the others. So I'm just taking my own background from business and some other things, and then applying it to what I know of what I've been researching for over a year, um, and what I'm actually physically doing now, obviously, as I'm doing it, and applying those things to it. But I think it's kind of interesting. The the worst thing I think the trucking industry has done is, I think the drivers, the owner operators, just think that they just need to drive, and it's like, no, driving is the easy part because obviously I'm doing it. The hard part is obviously you need to understand all the other major aspects about it. I mean, DIY has mentioned it, and some of the other people have mentioned it. That you're like, well, don't forget you got to do this, and don't forget you got to do that, and don't forget this, and all these people that throw out their pay stubs and they, oh, you know, this and this. It's like, well, you notice no one is mentioning about taxes, right? No one says, well, you got to take taxes out. You know, so that's 24% right there. So you need to start thinking about tax. And then you need to think about this, and you need to think about that, and you know, all this other stuff that you gotta, you know. I think some people, they get into it, just like you mentioned, just jumps into the industry, and then they're thinking like, well, why am I making it? Oh, I didn't think about the IFTA, or I didn't think about the tolls on this lane. I didn't think about this. I didn't think about that. You know, it's, I mean, I'm still finding new shit out now, and I've been researching it for the last 8, 10 months. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know about that. Oh, I didn't know about that. So,
Well, even then, you got to think about all the stuff that DIY doesn't put on YouTube. All the things
right.
that, like a lot of the successful guys that aren't on YouTube aren't saying nothing. There's owner operators that can't even write a complete sentence in an email, and they think they're gonna snag a $500,000 contract with, I don't know, we'll just pick somebody, Costco or something. It's just not. It's not going to happen. You know. Um, it, it,
Well,
the
yeah, I
biggest thing,
mean,
the biggest thing I think that happened is somewhere along the line, these mega carriers or larger companies or even investment groups were able to basically turn truck drivers into fast food workers. There's no, they flooded the market with drivers, steering wheel holders. They've got their cheap, they just keep cycling cheap labor through their companies, and I would say it's hurt small businesses, the ones that are actually trying to succeed, maybe become a fleet or whatnot. Um, and it's just hurt overall pay and I would say respect within the trucking industry. Uh, yeah, and I guess people just don't see that. They see this as they see trucking almost the way most people see like a builder or a contractor for a builder. You know, the profit margin is so much more. Uh, it like my buddy, he did trucking, but he got an RGN, he got an excavator. He knows how to do this stuff. He's he probably hasn't really trucked for 2 or 3 years now because the amount of he'll put a bid in for a uh, for a basement, $32,000. He builds the basement in what, 2 or 3 days? He excavates it out, has the form dropped, and then next thing you know, concrete in, and the basement's built in 2 or 3 days. You know, he just made $32,000 in 2 or 3 days. Uh, you know, uh, spent a couple $1,000s on the concrete and stuff, and maybe like 1,000, not even that, like $300 or $400 in fuel for the excavator and the truck and everything else, and he just made $32,000. Out of the uh, the net profit is so much bigger than it is with trucking. There's not, I guess technically, the excavator could break and yada, 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 but it's just the profit margin is so much bigger in most other industries. And there's so many hands in the cookie jar, especially after Corona. Um, Labor rates went up for the shops. They all raised their labor rates up to $120 an hour, $150 an hour and stuff. There's just so many more it was all, people were already struggling. And,
yeah,
you had this little bump, you had a bump for one year, where rates were really good, like where they probably should be technically. Um, but then, like I said, the guys come out here, they hustle on YouTube. They start these dispatch services, and there were guys paying 20% for dispatch services last year. You could have put a blindfold on and fell out of the truck, and you could have picked up a load paying like $5 or $6 a mile. And there are still people paying for dispatch services, and that's because there was little knowledge, um, and they were easy to take advantage of. You know, it's almost like what happened. It's like what happened with the farmers. They made contracts with like Purdue, Tyson, um, the beef farmers and stuff. And then when times get tough, they go to the companies come in, the suit and tie guys. They're like, hey, uh, we'll help we will help keep you making chicken for us or whatever, or flour or corn, and we will give you a loan. Okay, well, I want to keep my farm. I want to keep working. Well, guess what? Now you're a lease purchase driver for Monsanto, or you know what I'm trying to say. It's the same thing
Oh
that
yeah,
happened to
yeah.
them. Yeah, and now we don't name our price. When you go into a shop for repairs, you don't tell the guy what your rate is. He tells you what his rate is. You know, uh, it's the same way. Like, technically, we're in a service, industry, but do we ever really name our rate per se? Not only is there competition, but we pretty much aren't the first ones to name our price. It's always someone else telling us what we're going to be paid. And
Right.
there's just
Well,
not many. There's not many industries like that work out very well. I'll tell you that.
the funny thing is that what's kind of curious on how this industry is, and how it can either get better if it can, or is it gone to the point where it can't be? Because obviously we all know that the megas are only 8% of the trucks that are on the road. So you got 92% that are owner operators, or smaller companies. But as you say, you don't get to. You're not saying they flooded to a degree. It's been flooded with additional drivers that is probably not necessary to be flooded with, because I don't think there's no driver shortage. I don't think it probably was, but maybe it was just a way to obviously to drive the rates down, because that was obviously supply and demand, right? So obviously the spot market, that the spot market is basically off
The overflow.
the overflow, right? Of what I'm trying to remember the actual word of it, but the,
But then again,
the
you got to also think though, if you go back far enough, the spot market was almost the market. It was like the stock market of trucking. If you go back far enough, that's all you had was, I imagine the internet and stuff has changed a lot of that, but that's all you had was brokers and payphones. That's how, like, probably 80% of the trucking industry ran back in the 80s and early 90s.
well, I think as you mentioned, the internet does have a big thing in the matter, or a big um, cause in that, right? Cause and effect, because let's look, for example. You got these softwares where the brokers and everyone can just go ahead and click on and find out how many trucks are in that area. Well, then before they didn't have that. They had no idea, so they only knew who they knew. So then it was like, okay, I got to get someone to run. They didn't have that ability to say, well, there's 50 trucks there. Now they do, and I think that's another reason why technology has actually screwed the kind of the industry a little bit, because now it's given brokers and everyone else the ability to know when it's a lot of trucks there and not a lot of trucks in, the supply and demand
And
there.
then
And
if you think about it, there's a lot of lobbying by mega carriers. There's a whole bunch of stuff.
oh yeah, oh yeah,
And the more they can push certain laws and regulations up, the smaller and smaller they can make their competition, I guess you could say. Especially if they get Tesla trucks.
right.
There's like I actually looked into uh uh I'm going to say Nokia, but it's not Nokia. It's okay, Nikola. I actually looked into a Nikola truck because I
Hmm.
was kind of at the time I was kind of thinking that I kind of had an in with somebody that ran mail locally, and I figured it was a government contract. I figured if I could get a no, yeah, a Nikola truck, I figured I could land the truck, the contract easier because fuel, whatever you want to call it. Um, but you're talking about a $500,000 truck, and sure there was tax rebates and stuff like that, but it's you're talking about, you could buy 20 used trucks like decent used trucks for 80 grand for, for what you could buy for a nickel or whatnot. And, and then you got to worry about, the unknown, you got to worry about financing it. There was a lot of places that wouldn't finance it because it's new technology. The mega carriers don't care. They'll just pull out, they'll take a personal loan out, a personal guarantee or whatever, and they'll just, take a shot at it. Like you said, they can afford to take that chance. Um, there was really no way I could probably get a loan for that truck, unless I put half down maybe. But because I tried looking and I said, there's no way a small carrier or owner operator is ever going to be able to get a hold of any of these damn trucks unless they're used. And I look at a Tesla battery for a car. You're talking about $25,000 for a car that after a couple of years, it's only worth maybe $20,000. So you could imagine for a semi truck, a battery for that, you're probably talking, the truck's what, $500,000. So this battery is probably what, $100,000 or $80,000. Who can just drop $80,000? And well, a mega carrier can, but they'll have all that stuff warranted anyway for research purposes and everything else.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean,
so
the,
if we go down that road, it's gonna choke out small businesses altogether. But then again,
that
like I
whole
said, go on.
I'm just saying that whole electric truck thing. I mean, I get the fact that that's been trying to come on board. I get they have some that are out and about doing some local work. I get the fact that over in Pure Delta or Foxtrot, whatever it is over in California and whatever, all that is nothing but AI trucks running around or autonomous trucks running around and things and blah blah blah. But the infrastructure, me personally, as what I've researched, I don't think the infrastructure is there enough for it to even start in the next 10 or
For
20
any of
years.
it, for the
Well,
autonomy, for the power
yeah.
grid, they're still there. Like since I did utility poles, there right now. If you go out and look, I mean, it depends where you're at, but I know like specifically in a lot of major cities and older suburban areas, stuff that wasn't recently built in the last 50 years, there are wires on poles. They're like 130 years old. And some of the wire that's on those poles is copper wire, like pure copper that's been strung up there like 100 years ago. you know, and now you're going to tell me everybody's going to plug in their electric car at 5 p.m. after they get done work.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, okay.
I don't know if it was cash or DIY, and it's something I thought about. I think probably a little while back when we started talking about it as well. Um, I'm too much of an overthinker, but the cost of or the just the I guess the logistics of what happens when you start putting these trucks out and the truck breaks down. Well, you don't have a Tesla factory every 5 feet, so who is going to work on that? So you're going to have obviously now shops and the maintenance shops and say the TAs and the loves, and now you're going to get guys in there that's going to know how to work on a motor, not an engine. A motor obviously is a difference. A motor is electric engine. An engine is combustible. So there's a difference between motor and an engine. So you're going to get people that's going to you're going to hire all those people to be able to work on that, and then what's the cost?
Tesla. All you have to do to see if how that would work out, Tesla would never have that happen. All you have to do is just look at Tesla's self-driving feature in their cars and Tesla's ludicrous feature, or P feature or whatever they call it.
Mm-hmm.
Those cars, all the Tesla cars are already set up for autonomy. You know what? All they do is they push a button. They push a button and download the software into the car, and there's your $12,000 right there. $12,000. Thank you. There's no way Tesla is going to take that cash cow and just start handing it out to anybody to train to. That's all going to be. You'll probably have like two dealerships or a dealership and a where. They'll just buy a warehouse, rent a warehouse out, and that'll be the truck dealer, I guess, per se. And mostly what I think what they're going to try to do is the same. They're going to try to follow. A lot of them, it already seems like they're doing that. They're trying to follow the same model is basically the way Apple, the same business model. You know, very rarely can you take your Apple product and actually get it technically fixed. You know,
Right.
it's just
Well, I
yeah,
just think there's so much stuff they haven't thought about. So they're going to buy these trucks, and if you and say let's say the megas buy the truck. Well, the megas are going to have that. I mean, I would think they'd have that same problem. I mean, because when this truck breaks down, I go to a Love's, a TA, or whatever. I'm sure there's not going to be too many places. If I'm sitting here driving a freaking Tesla truck, they're going to go, yeah, go to that Love's. Now, get it. No, the Love's going to go, I don't know, I ain't going to touch that thing. I don't know anything about that. So I don't know. I just think a lot of stuff like that is so far behind. So everyone talks about it so much, but I'm like, what are you worried about? I think there's so much other things that the industry should try to worry about and fix. And I think one of those has to do with double brokering and brokering itself that are people that are not actually in the United States. I think that's what I've noticed is that seems like one of the worst things that's happened to this industry is that the FMCSA and everyone else has allowed people to work overseas and do this crazy brokering crap when you don't even know that they're even a, a decent broker. They don't have a brick and mortar anywhere around that you can go and talk to and all that kind of jazz that you're supposed to according to the rules. And that's just something that's kind of strange to me that that the industry does not fix. Right? To me, that would be one of the first things that I would try to fix in this industry. Because if you did that, then you can maybe get rid of some of these scammers, and then you get rid of maybe some of the, some of that issue.
yeah. I would say that's a big problem too. Is the FMCSA not actually enforcing the laws that are on the books already? You know, and
Oh no, yeah, yeah,
just just things that are actual problems that can actually easily be fixed with like a stroke of a pen or actually applying some law enforcement to it. They're worried about, making 18-year-old drivers and speed
right.
limiters and
I mean, the simple thing. What's it?
stuff that has nothing to do economically or or costs thousands or millions of dollars to businesses every year. Um,
Right. I mean, just
yeah,
simply
the
the
way
fact
the
that of English speakers, they don't enforce that. If
yeah
you would
yeah
enforce that, you would probably eliminate so
yeah
many of the. It's just ridiculous.
understanding, and at least somewhat kind of like speaking English. Not only not fluently, just at least to be able to tell somebody. Like I remember I had a guy who was a hazmat driver. He was trying to ask me whether or not he could go over. Well, I guess right. Well, now it's called the Como Bridge, but before it was called the Tappan Zees. He was trying to communicate to me. I eventually figured it out, but he was trying to, ask if he could go over the Tappan Zees Bridge or if he had to go through, um, the George Washington. And I was like, I told him he could go over the Tappan Zees Bridge, but like I was thinking, I was like, God, if he went through the George Washington, who knows if he'd even get on the right. He might go underneath the George Washington on the lower level. Who even knows if he would even go on the right level? You know, um,
Yeah. I mean,
and he's
I
a
mean,
hazmat driver.
right. I mean, obviously, it's a huge problem. I mean, we see it all the
Uh,
time. Obviously, it was that whole situation in Colorado that happened. But I mean, I mentioned this on Wheelburgers Live like last week or whatever. I mean, it just happened to us, or happened to Mrs. Megan when she was sitting in the driver's lounge at Flying J, and this guy goes out the emergency exit, and the alarms are all sounding, and he's freaking out, and the dude behind him just go, who's sitting there in the lounge goes, he goes, close the effing door, dude. He goes, can't you read? That's for emergency exit only, man. And then I went, no English. And then he ran off. It's just kind of like, well, great. If you can't read that big old sign that says do not open the door, then you're probably not reading any other sign that's out here
well,
on the road.
like I said, they turned the trucking industry. It's no longer a blue collar professional job. It's a fast food industry. It turned, I'm not trying to say fast food workers but it's technically,
I
it's a
get what you
stepping
mean.
stone. You know,
Yeah.
they turned trucking into a bottom of the barrel. You're not supposed to want to stay in this as a career. You just want to get in and survive, I guess. And, that's what they turned it into. Um,
Well, You got the standards, right? You got guys, I see them, they looks like I'm in a truck stop. I'm like, looking at them like, did you just roll out of bed? You just rolled out of bed. You must have rolled out of bed and went to work. I mean, you still got like pajamas on and you're wearing flip flops and I think and I don't agree with that, but I mean, but I think one of the biggest things that also hurt the industry, and I shouldn't say hurt the industry, but it doesn't help the industry. Let's put it this way, is shit like those, bonehead truckers, right? Even though it's funny, it's funny to watch and whatever, but that's now on a main street type thing where you have hundreds of thousands of people that are freaking watching that.
Yeah, they
Now
feel it's
they get
okay
that
that
view.
happens. Yeah.
Now that's the view of truckers. That's what they
Yeah.
think that everyday truckers are. They don't understand that that's, I think, Ike Stevens' way of saying, you shouldn't be doing this. This is a bad thing, guys. Stop acting like this. He's making fun of those people. But I think if you look at it from people that are not in the trucking industry, they're looking at it as that's what truckers are. That's the majority of truckers now. Majority of truckers are these idiots that don't turn correctly, that get stuck over railroad tracks, that that look like they're just got out of bed and whatever. And I think that hurts the industry humongously because of the fact that anytime that you don't have the public interest in your best interest, it's very hard to get lobbyists to go for you for anything that you want to do in the political realm.
Well, that's also too. How many truck drivers do you actually think vote? I bet you. I don't know. Let's say it's 5 million. Let's say we have 5 million truck drivers. I would say probably out of 5 million, when like when especially local elections and stuff, let alone presidential, I would say probably 90% of them don't vote in a local election. Out of 5 million, and maybe in a presidential election you might get maybe 40% of them maybe will vote in a presidential election, whether that be absentee or actually be home. The rest just don't care. It's they're not part of the public. They're just that. I hate to say it like this, but we turned into that Mexican labor out in the field. Nobody thinks about where your food that's picked from comes from. Nobody even fathoms that there's somebody out there pulling the skin off his fingers to pick your food, and for what, minimum wage if he's lucky. I know it matters more to him because it goes farther down, down in Mexico, but still, it's just the blind, the blind side of the economy we turned into.
Well, I think that personally goes back to, once again, it goes back to your public image. So if as long as the public image keeps going through downward change, I think I mentioned other truckers on lives. I've heard them mention it so many other times. Well, back in the day, we were considered gods and heroes and this, blah, 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 right? And I'm like, okay, I don't remember that, but, whatever. I mean, I guess it was, right?
I remember
maybe,
at least truck drivers were looked at as a blue collar worker, like a lineman or or contractor or something.
Some probably looked at it and went, wow, that's really cool. I'd love to freaking drive something that big. And, that's very, so there was a little bit of there, but obviously over time, it has gone downhill, and that's got to do with the people in the industry that ends up messing it up, just like many others that, and they're probably not the full-time professionals that's been doing it for a while. Obviously, it's they're only in it for doing the trash at the Walmart parking lots and whatever the case may be. But all that does is constantly put a negative impact into the trucking industry's political, I guess, persona of what they look like from the outside, and that hurts you in totality because of the fact that you don't get anybody that's backing you, and that's the problem. One of the problems.
I don't want to, like, remember how technically was talking about being hustled and everything on YouTube. If you, I mean, it probably, the way the YouTube algorithm is, you might not per se see it a lot, but if you look hard enough, or let's say you go into like generic things, like let's say if you say just truck driving, if you just put a generic search or something in there, you will find these channels where they specifically they do uplift trucking, but they're talking to certain marginal neighborhoods and certain marginal areas and stuff. I'm not trying to get like you know and now you're taking that and you're putting it into you're putting it on the road, those problems. Um, like Asia Maya had a guy on that had, oh, I don't know, I think he had like 40 owner operators or something he built himself up to. Well, yeah, he was having problems with where he was hiring people with, he had a lot of problems with them, marijuana possession and stuff. And he got nailed, they actually, FBI raided his business because they thought he was, it happened enough that they thought he was trafficking with the semi trucks. They thought he was trafficking marijuana and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, that's a big part of it too. They're hustling. They're hustling whoever will listen. So they're going to the lowest. Yeah, I'm not saying it's not a good thing. Like, I mean, if they do get in and do good and they do provide, uh, better. Like I said, like a Walmart employee getting into trucking, obviously they're going to make more money. But the problem is they're not getting into it as a career. They don't think they're going to, a lot of them don't even think they're going to become an owner operator or not. They're just getting in it to make more money, and they're going to still perform the same level of determination or whatnot, or lack of, in Walmart is they're going to do in trucking. They're going to wear sandals. They're going to wear pajamas. They're not going to look when they back up. I spoke to one guy on Facebook who um, he used to actually work for Walmart. He became a driver. I think he got his CDL. He's been driving only 6 months now, and he's already had 3 accidents. And he was asking pretty much whether it was time, maybe he should, because I guess, it caused a lot of aggravation and stuff, and you get, jitters. And he was wondering if it was time for him to get out. And I basically said that, if you don't feel confident, in your abilities, then, some people just aren't meant to drive. They shouldn't be operating a heavy piece of equipment on the road. Not only are you ruining your career, you're also possibly ruining your personal license, on top of it. You might end up killing somebody someday. So is it really, if you're really that worried about it, maybe you shouldn't be driving, you know? And there's tons of guys out there like that. You can
Oh
watch
yeah,
them. They can't back up,
I'm going to tell you that just going through the CDL school when we went through it, I mean, it was 90% of those people looked like they came in, once again, rolled out of bed, rolled in up in here, and all they were thinking about is, I'm going to go here and make some money because obviously it's been all over YouTube that you can make thousands of dollars and this, that, and the other. But you should, I mean, the way that most of them drove and the way that most of them thought when you spoke to them was like, you're a complete idiot, right? You have no, I had one dude, we were in there, right? I was talking to the instructor and we were talking absolutely zero knowledge, obviously, about this industry. Talking about a 730 split, and the guy went, 30%, that's good. We went, what? Hey, the driver gets 30%, right? And we're like going, no, the driver gets the 70% split. Oh, I'm like, you're completely clueless. You're in CDL school and you're completely clueless about the industry. And once again, obviously, since I guess that's obviously where you get steering wheel holders, that whole thing from. But we see it time and time again that they're just getting in here and they're flooding the market, as you would say, flooding. But they really have no desire of actually learning the industry. It's, as you said, they're just here just to get a paycheck and move on and maybe go do something else later. If you saw Ike Stevens' latest Bonehead Trucker, and I don't watch them all the time, but it just came up that he had one trucker. He actually, you should look at it. He highlighted this one trucker, and I guess he uploaded some of this guy's own YouTube and TikTok.
Oh.
The guy wrecked his truck 3 or 4 times. He was surprised that he got fired. He had no idea. I mean, he didn't believe it was his fault. Some of this, whatever. And then this guy ends up getting arrested down the line for some type of things with the kids or something or other and whatever. And he's, some whatever. But anyway, I'm sure you'll find it on there if you look at it. But the point of it is that the guy's own, he was like, I can't believe that happened. That's not my fault. My wheel fell off. And I'm like going, you mean it's not your fault your wheel fell off?
You didn't notice the sparks for the last 25 miles, or?
Well, I'm like,
Yeah,
if you did a pre-trip, I mean, obviously you probably would have realized that, I don't know, maybe your bolts are freaking loose, maybe you lost a few nuts, whatever the case may be, right? And then the guy ends up doing so. Oh, this is kind of my fault over here. I mean, but like I said, it's just the ability of him saying,
well, technically,
it's his fault.
Yeah, technically the system's supposed to weed that out, but the problem is when you give the mega carriers the ability to test and train their own students, or even there's no enforcement. They're just
I don't think it's. I mean, Megas. I think the actual company is responsible for training the people. But I mean, if you look at it, most state get a CDL. A monkey can get the CDL. I mean, it's not that difficult. All you have to do is, depending on the state that you're in, you do a 90, you do a 3 different, maybe a straight back, a 90, and a freaking offset or whatever, and you do a road test. And obviously, up to you to obviously take the test at the DMV. But I mean, all of it's pretty simple. I mean, it doesn't take that much long just to know those little basics to get that little piece of plastic.
Well, they give you like depending on the state. Some states give upwards to like 6 tries before they'll tell you got to come back and do the program again. Now
Right.
some were 3, but I mean
Right.
it's just obviously
But
when
the point of
they're
it is-
backing up, randomly running over cones and stuff. Like come on,
Well, you even got the DMV that will sit there and say, well, what language do you want to take this in? It's like, wait a minute.
They'll practically have somebody sit down with you and do it.
But that's the thing. I mean, so how do you have an FMCSA federal regulation that says that you have to English, but now you're going to allow the state to say, that's all right, they can take it in any language they want. So obviously, once again, it goes right back to the FMCSA is a joke because they don't enforce anything that they put on the books, and the reason that most of it's there is just my personal opinion, is all politics. It's whatever the megas want done that helps them get better, and it seems like the megas are growing, and the owner operators are, right, and the owner operators are getting fewer and fewer. Obviously, AB5 tells you right there that 70,000 people in California freaking lost all their little rights of it. And I heard no one's paying attention to it or whatever, and they're still doing their thing. But you got the FLSA's proposal coming down the pipe, and if that changes, now you're talking that can go nationwide. So, I mean, there's a bunch of other stuff that just happens, but the industry doesn't have anybody speaking for them, right? There's no one speaking for the industry except
I'm starting to think there's a lot of issues like that because they just came out. Apparently, the administration just came out with I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, and they want to ban gas cooking. They don't want to have anybody be able to have gas cooking in their houses because it's a health hazard.
Yeah, okay.
It's the same. It's the same thing with that, and of course, the appliance whatever group came out and was like, oh, that's bull crap and stuff. But of course, because they sell appliances, but it's the same way, the same way around with that. To be honest, I think it's so they, National Gas drilling that they want to calm that down a little bit or something. But it's the same bull crap that goes on with that. It's the same bull crap that goes on with the OIDA. OID has turned into a union, a modern day union, not what an actual union, what I, used to specify. They turn into a modern day union. They take your dues, they do the bare minimum, and they, they pocket the profits.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that I've said it before in chats and whatever. I think the Idiocracy movie, I swear it's happening. It's actual true. I don't think it's a joke. I think it's actually happening. The Idiocracy movie is coming to life because
Yeah,
as you
yeah,
look,
I think exactly the same way too. The common sense
it's
has
it's
gone out the
gone.
window.
It's not happening. Did you notice that the rise, if you look at the statistics on the rise of intelligence, is diminished in the sense that we have over, I believe it's over 3 million people right now that do not have the mental capacity of a freaking 5-year-old. Over a 5-year-old. They just don't have it. Right? They don't have that mental capability of working for a living and handling themselves and whatever the case. And it's getting higher every year. So it's just going to end up happening where people are just we're going to get more stupid, and because we don't fix that problem and whatever and everything else. And I think I posted something on my community page just a little while ago on a thing where America obviously is obese and whatever. And the first thing that came out of all the medical journal or the medical people's thing is we're going to come up with a drug to start letting kids, ages 12 and under, and try to get FDA approved so they can not eat, let me feed them drugs so they can get thinner. Instead of sitting and saying, well, how about
You create a problem, and then you find a half-assed solution to fix that problem, and then you make money off of it.
Right. But instead of saying, how about we just exercise more? How about if we get off the video games? How about if we don't eat the sugary shit? We wouldn't be so fat. But instead,
Look
take
at
this pill.
perfect examples. Look at TikTok. In TikTok in other countries, it only works for a certain amount of hours, and it shows some of the other countries there's all totally different. There's science, there's history that's played on it. None of this stupid bullshit of like slapping each other with I don't know dildos and whatever. There's none of that crap. It's all educational, and the more I forget how they rate it, but the more educational it is, or the more views you get on that educational video, the more money you get. It's the total opposite of how it works in America and stuff.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's it's poison. And they like when I was a kid. It's funny when I was a kid. I watched Sesame Street. I guess when I got older, let's see, what was I watching? Like CSI and stuff like that. And back then, CSI was more, the show was more into the science, even though some of it was fake. But it was, into that. It wasn't the drama, stupid bullshit like the newer ones are and all that crap. And I used to watch. Look at TLC. If you go back maybe 10, 15 years ago, look at what TLC used to be. They used to have the History Channel. Used to have Discovery Channel. What are they now? Now my wife watches fat people and retarded
Reality
stupid
shows.
people try to find love overseas, or whatever you want. It's just it's total BS. It teaches nothing. Like cartoons, I watch what my kids watch and stuff, especially with YouTube. Like the nonsense that's on YouTube. Even on kids, you put kids YouTube on, and it's there's no real learning. It's all like kid drama, I guess you could call it. About the best so far, the best show I think I've let my kids watch lately is Bluey. What's funny is it's a based cartoon that's over in Australia, and it's government funded, surprisingly. But it's down to earth. It pretty much teaches like the old imagination, kind of schooling or whatever you want to call it. Compared to letting your kid watch YouTube anymore, or God forbid TikTok.
Yeah. I mean, they doing the same thing about the guy even mentioned. Well, it's cheaper. It's cheaper for you to go get a Happy Meal or something like that than it is if you actually go to the store and buy, actual ingredients that's healthy for you. And it's just kind of like that crap like that right there is what boggles me in the sense that why the government doesn't give a shit, and they never will because it's not in their best interest. Because I think the fact that the society is basically turned into what's in it for me and screw everything else. And this
Here's what
country
I
is
want to know.
continually just going to go right down the tubes.
So when I remember being younger, and you had McDonald's and stuff, and I remember you looking at a McDonald's hamburger, and it looked like a hamburger. Now you look at a McDonald's
Oh,
burger, you look at it real close, you look at it real close. There's all kinds of weird little colored things in it, all kinds of goofy stuff in it. Um, but I remember, you know, back then you would go to a McDonald's, and yeah, people would eat at McDonald's, but they wouldn't eat there every day. They weren't like filling their car up with McDonald's wrappers. So I don't know, maybe culturally something's changed, or
well, it's
maybe they
cheaper.
put something in the food.
It's just cheaper,
Um,
though. I mean, I'm saying it's cheaper.
well
So
back
it's,
then it was cheaper. It was cheaper too. Well, geez, you get like a hamburger for what? Like I think when I was a kid, you get a hamburger for
yeah, but I mean, what
when I
I'm
was born in
saying is
'86.
but back in the day, the food at the grocery store wasn't the price it is
Actually,
now.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
you weren't paying $10 for a carton of eggs. Yeah.
there wasn't no such thing as this. Well, you can get iceberg lettuce over here for 99 cents, but
I
organic is three
remember, I
dollars and fifty
remember,
cents.
I
It's like
remember,
what?
I remember going shopping and at Pathmark, and we would fill up because there was a period of time where my brothers were living with us again. We would fill up two shopping carts full of food and then some. And I think the bill came out to like maybe $200. Like, now you can't even fill up half a shopping cart. You're up to just about $200, um, for food. And the big difference though, given my dad wasn't making a lot of money, but he was at least making, uh, like $800 a week then. To spend $200 to last almost 2 weeks worth of food, is nothing compared to what you fill up half a shopping cart and you spend $200, and you're lucky to get a couple days out of it.
I just noticed with both feet was in here, and I
Yeah,
didn't know
yeah,
when
he
he
came
showed
in.
up.
Yeah, he jumped. Yeah,
But
he just jumped in maybe like 15 minutes
I
ago.
can't, I can't, I can't make any comments on here inside this chat room. So that's weird. Usually I can, but I guess I can't now for some reason. It won't let me do it. But chat, I can chat there, but I can't chat there. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, so many things are messed up, and obviously we've gotten probably way off track from what we originally were talking about.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I don't think anybody's gonna watch this long into the video anyway.
Well, so yeah, I'm sure. And they're like, TBT got on here. Next.
No, 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 it's not that. No, I think sometimes like if I'm driving somewhere, I'll listen to a whole three, like if like DIY or something does it, I'll listen to a whole 2 or 3 hours of them rambling. But very rarely, any other time you're gonna end up listening to a whole 3 hour conversation.
Yeah, I do it when I'm driving. Yeah, that's pretty much it, though. I mean, not if I'm not driving, no, I'm not going to sit around 3 hours because obviously I got other things to do. Um,
Yeah,
but
it's getting late anyway too. So,
well, I hear you. Well,
but
I'll jump off. I appreciate you letting me on, and it's
hey,
good talking with you.
no problem, TBT.
I hope things work out. When are you gonna be up and running? You think?
Well, I'm still waiting for the Texas temporary plate or whatnot. And tomorrow I also got to go take the truck. I'm going to take the truck in to go get aligned. So I'll probably get aligned and then maybe mention something about, my air pressure or whatnot. I've noticed it's
Oh,
losing air once in a while. I think it's the
where did
leveling
you?
valve. Go ahead.
Okay. No,
I think
I just didn't
the
know. No, I just didn't know where you decided to put the decal.
the decals. I think I ended up putting a picture up in my community profile. I put them.
Oh, okay.
I ended up putting
I'll
them
look.
between. I couldn't fit them on the door, so I ended up putting it between. The actual driver door or whatnot and the toolbox door. So
Oh, okay.
eventually, though, like I said, eventually, like if I said on my one live, I want to put like a flat black, what do they call it, like distressed American flag, like on an angle across of it, and I'll probably pull that decal off and maybe get a black, maybe have a black and white decal made up for them, and have it stuck there, with the flag. So
Yes,
all
I
in time.
saw Prime. I don't know if it's been around for a while. I saw it, I think sometime last month, or I think it was first time I saw it. And I think it might be for their veterans. I'm not really sure. Did you see the ones on the Prime trucks where it looks like they got claw marks, and then ripping away the paint is the flag underneath?
No, I haven't seen one, and that's probably one of their newer ones they put out.
That's pretty cool. So, but yeah, you mentioned the flag, the distress flag, or the blacked out flag. I thought that was going to look cool. So I'll wait to see how it comes out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna put like really any chrome. I might do some lights like in the grill and stuff like that, but I'm not gonna go all nuts, with it. Pretty much. I already got a name set out for it. I'm gonna call her the Silver Bullet. So,
All right,
but
all right.
that's that's pretty much what I'm doing with that because I'm not gonna, what the hell? It's an aerodynamic truck. Yeah, I'm not gonna put I was thinking, I'm not gonna put what the hell they call them. Hey, I'm not gonna put a visor on it. And I'm not gonna do all that crap. It's just it would defeat the whole purpose of the truck anyway. So
You got to put a bull
it's
guard on
probably
it.
it'll. I don't know because technically, I mean, I'm never in a semi truck. I've never actually come close to hitting a deer. Um,
Oh, okay.
then again, though, like I said, it's a newer truck, a lot quieter. Um, I, I don't know. It all depends. I don't really want to put a big, deer bull guard or deer guard on it because like I said, in my opinion, it defeats the purpose of the aerodynamics of the truck. Um, and then again, also like a real bull guard, you're talking about like $5,000 for a real like chrome aluminum bull guard or whatnot. Uh, I might
Yeah,
just end
that's
up
not it.
getting like an aftermarket. Yeah, but it also doesn't help the truck's brand new. So probably the only person that makes a deer guard at least for it is I forgot the name of the company. I think it's called MaxX or something. And you're talking like $2,000-3,000 for just so $5,000 for a full bull guard if they even make it for a next gen yet, or like $3,000 for a deer guard. You know, I would imagine at least $2,500 probably for a deer guard to them. So I'll wait. Eventually, I imagine something will come out on eBay or something, and then it'll just hook right into probably the toe plate or the toe pins. So that'll probably be
I saw
maybe
some
how
good.
it goes.
I saw some cool ones over in the. I don't know if it was IW8, I-80, or if it was the Joplin I-44 Petro. Um, and they had some really cool ones that were black.
Yeah,
Really nice.
if I put one like I almost it's got a chrome bumper, and I almost kind of wish it was the painted bumper, because I'd rather just have the black and the paint than the chrome. Um, but if I put a bull guard on, it's going to be black. If they end up making an aftermarket black grill, I'll probably end up putting the black grill on too. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
That'd be
A
nice.
lot of I kind of on a modern truck, I kind of don't like the chrome to be honest with you. If it was a 387 or if you had the fuel tanks, if I could, if it didn't have the skirts on it and the fuel tanks were out, that's another, a different story. But since it's all covered up in plastic, you might as well make it look more like like a sports car, like a Dodge RT or something, than a chromed out truck because it's not a chromed out truck at all. So,
It's nice though.
uh,
All right. Well, thanks, buddy. I'll appreciate you letting me on, and I'll jump off so you can get out of here and get some sleep, whatever
all
you
right,
need to do. All right.
yep, all right.
All
I'll
right.
see you, TBT. Hey,
All right.
stay safe out there. All right,
Thanks. Appreciate it.
yep. All right, and if you actually sat here for, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours of that, congratulations. Please hit the like and subscribe button. And yeah, I'm gonna get out of here and get ready for bed. And we're gonna call it a night. So have a good one, everyone.